Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the UGC League Season 3. I'm your host, 49, the Mastercaster who talks a lot faster, and this is Game 1 of a Best of 2 VOD series between, I believe it's Anime Saikou playing against Raven for the Asia Iron Division. Haven't cast either of these teams before, so it should be interesting to see how they perform, usually covering the Eastern Invite, so that's going to be the Australia and Southeast Asian teams. So it looks like for game number 1 we are opening with a Viper first ban coming out from Raven. Viper was an incredibly powerful lane controlling hero, usually not considered to be a tier 1 ban unless you have a very specific strategy in mind from the get-go. And so by banning out Viper this early on, Raven that could indicate their desire to pick up a hero such as a Shadow Fiend or a Storm Spirit, so heroes that are very dependent on controlling a 1v1 matchup, which Viper is usually able to shut down. So the disadvantage of banning out Viper this early on is while he is a very powerful hero, he's not going to be as competitive a ban as a much more trendy meta pick, such as for instance the Axe or the Troll Warlord. Looks like Raven also choosing to ban out the Broodmother. Broodmother as well, very similar to the Viper, while a very powerful hero, not usually worthy of a first tier ban, because there are multiple ways to deal with the Broodmother. And for instance, an example being the Legion Commander with the overwhelming odds. You also have access to a 4-position Sanking, or even Sanking in the offlane role, where you choose to go for points in the passives, the Caustic Finale early on. Looks like Anime Saikou choosing the first ban, the Templar Assassin. This is a bit of a drafting error, unlike the Viper or the Broodmother, which can be worthy of a first tier ban against certain matchups. Templar Assassin, very rare to ban around this early on, just because the Templar Assassin, very easy to counter in the laning stage. For instance, you've got the Viper, it's able to deal with the Templar Assassin quite easily. Venomancer is also usually drafted as a very effective Templar Assassin counter, and Templar Assassin is one of those heroes that you have to completely crush your 1v1 matchup, so that way you can snowball and have a high impact. So she's one of those heroes that if you don't really have an answer for, she could pretty much win you the game single-handedly, just because she's able to get so big so quickly, and she could run around two-showing your supports and making it very difficult. We're also going to be seeing the Bristleback ban coming up from Anime Saikou. I do have to preface this draft by saying that since this is the Asia Iron Division, we will be noticing a few little inefficient plays coming through, both in the strategic macro level as well as the tactical level. And so the Bristleback ban. Bristleback, while a very powerful hero, not necessarily worthy of a first tier ban, because Bristleback's shut down quite heavily by heroes such as Lion. It looks like Raven choosing to go for the Lion first pick. Lion has usurped the Vengeful Spirit as the most commonly picked or banned support hero. Used to be the Skywrath Mage, then became the Ogre, now it's fallen to the Venge and the Lion. And so the reason why these supports are so popular is they provide you great consistency at every stage of the game. They're not going to taper off. Lion provides you fantastic amount of crowd control, and he hard counters a lot of very popular core position heroes at the moment, such as the Storm Spirit, the Deucer, or the Bristleback. Also a very effective way to deal with the Anti-Mage early on, just because you've got that 0-second cast point with the Hex. So Lion's Hex is considered to be the best done at level 1 in the game, because you've got a 0-second cast point, 500 range, and by hexing a target you also disable passive effects, such as for instance the backtrack coming through from the Faceless Void. It's a very effective hero to not only set up kills in the offlaner, but also to effectively harass them out, since Lion can deal with the Bristleback quite easily just by mana draining him. So effectively the Templar and the Bristleback are two wasted bans, although that being said, Anime Saikou, they have opened up the draft, so heroes such as the Bat Rider, the Juggernaut, the Troll Warlord, as well as the Sniper, currently available and in the pool, so Anime Saikou, with the second pick, they might actually look to snatch up as many tier 1 heroes as possible. They choose to go for the Disruptor as their first pick. Disruptor is a very powerful niche pick, in the sense that he hard counters certain strategies, such as for instance the IO Tiny combination. When you see the IO relocation come through, drop the Static Storm, drop the Kinetic Field. You can actually choose to glimpse back the IO if you don't have level 6, otherwise they get relocated into the Static Storm and the Kinetic Field, sets up two very easy kills. Since Disruptor also offers you fantastic harassment capability, it does give you a little bit of flexibility with your lanes. Teams have been known, such as Sneaky Nyx Assassins, have even experimented with operating Disruptor in an aggressive dual lane to send them into the enemy offlane back in the TI4 meta, or I suppose right before the TI4 meta, just because the Nyx Assassin's very difficult to deal with. You've got the Spike Carapace as well as the Impale. In Disruptor choosing to max out Thunderstrike in that scenario, you're always able to trade kills, and every time you trade kills a dual lane via tri lane, you automatically come out on top since you're receiving a lot more experience. And so it means that their supports are going to be a lot more EXP style when you leave the laning stage, and so it sets up for easy kills from the next assassin. Also means Disruptor, excellent at zoning out enemy offlanes, or always setting up kills against them, just because the Thunderstrike not only does damage, but also prevents them from trying to juke you out. Because every time the Thunderstrike hits, it does briefly give you vision. We are going to be seeing the Axe second pick coming out from Anime Saikou, and Raven now choosing to go for the Troll Warlord. So these tier 1 heroes that are usually banned in the competitive scene, both going to be picked up on opposing ends. Troll Warlord's actually quite a powerful hero to deal with the Axe, in the sense that, as far as the laning stage is concerned, it makes it very difficult for Axe to close the distance. You've got the range form, so you can keep your distance away from Axe. You've got the range whirling axes when you see him run towards you. That being said, Axe, once he picks up level 2, he's able to catch Troll Warlord in the creep wave. Troll's going to be eating a hell of a lot of damage, might even be killed outright. So Axe is one of the best initiation and counter-initiation heroes in the game. He's basically got a mini reverse polarity on demand, so a 3.2 second BKB piercing stun that also forces them to prioritize Axe. So you can actually see some subtle synergies, such as for instance the Axe and the Elder Titan, a combination used by the Australian-based Trident Esports. So Axe blinks in, Berserker's Call, Elder Titan throws out the Ancestral Spirit, so that way it propagates the natural order. So with the 0 base armor, Axe's counter Helix is doing a hell of a lot more damage, and then you throw out the Earth Splitter, and that can pretty much destroy entire teams on its own. Now going to be seeing the Storm Spirit ban coming out from Anime Saikou, very perceptive ban coming out from them as the Lion pickup. Lion's one of the best supports to deal with the Storm Spirit, just because Storm has to zip behind him every single time, or immediately Orchid or Vortex him while he's zipping towards him, and that decreases the efficiency of his Overload proc. Also means that until he gets the Orchid, he has to play quite cautiously around the Lion. So because Raven have picked up Lion, it can telegraph their intent to pick up one of these heroes that Lion counters, such as for instance the Deucer or the Storm Spirit. So these are the two most common heroes that Lion can be used as an effective counter towards, and so Raven actually have quite an advantageous position as far as the draft is concerned, because especially with the Ancient Apparition ban, as well as the Viper actually does quite nicely with Deucer. Raven might actually be telegraphing a Deucer pick, as the Broodmother as well, usually able to apply a lot of pressure by knocking down towers early on, as well as keeping the supports down. So Raven, if they do decide to go for the Deucer pick, we might actually see something like a anti-mage ban coming through here, or even an Invoker ban, as the Quas Wex or the Quas Exalt Invoker are able to deal with Deucer quite effectively. Quas Exalt does so by going for the very early Necronomicon, and we're knocking down towers to deprive Deucer of a farming space, especially since you could actually breach high ground before Deucer has a chance to get her assets together. Otherwise, the anti-mage, very classic counter to the Deucer in the sense that with Mana Break, you're able to decrease the efficiency of her mana shield. So we're going to be seeing a Tidehunter ban. Tidehunter, his win rate has dropped from 54% down to 45% in the current meta, so a little bit sad to see the big old tasty watermelon take a fall. The reason for this is the rising prevalence of heroes such as the Axe that are able to initiate much more reliably, as well as the higher consistency that Axe brings because he's got a much more powerful laning stage. Also gives you more flexibility for your lanes. Tidehunter is almost always going to be a solo offlane hero, whereas Axe you could even run him as an aggro tri-lane or an aggro dual lane to go against the enemy tri-lane. Tidehunter also suffers from the fact that without the Blink Dagger, even though he does have that flash farming mechanic of the Anchor Smash and the contingency mechanic of being in a stack with our Ancients, it does take him a long time to actually accomplish anything, especially if you're zoned out of lane. And so if you're looking at a 14-minute blink coming out from Tide, compared to a 9 to 10 minute blink coming out from Axe in the jungle, that 4-minute difference does relate to a hell of a lot of lost momentum, especially since you've got heroes such as the Clockwork Goblin that are able to effectively come online once they pick up level 6. Anime Saikou choosing to ban out the Tinker. Tinker, I'm not really too sure why they were thinking about banning that hero out this early on, since Tinker, while he is picked up from time to time as a niche pick, you usually don't want to pick up Tinker too early on, just because Tinker's a hero that tends to be a surprise 5th pick, just because you need to draft 4 of the heroes that can create space for Tinker in order for him to be worthwhile. Not really too effective with the Troll Warlord. I suppose both these heroes are able to create space for each other. Troll can fight early, which is what Tinker is able to supplement, and Tinker can help take your game late. I suppose Anime Saikou just don't want to deal with the annoyance factor, so that could be another thing to consider, just because we are talking lower bracket matches compared to Eastern Invite, so less competitive teams, in the sense that your draft is actually hindered by the fact that there are some heroes your teammates cannot simply play, and so you have to draft around what your teammates are also able to play, as well as what the enemy team can supposedly draft. So now we're going to be seeing a Lich pick coming out from Anime Saikou, and Lich Axe can actually be quite a powerful offlane duo, since Lich is able to control creep equilibrium through sacrifice, and with the Frost armor makes Axe very durable. Axe can actually set up kills quite easily with the Frost Nova from the Lich to set things up. So Anime Saikou, they do have a bit of flexibility. The drawback of Lich is you don't really want to run Lich in the tri-lane. If you run Lich in the tri-lane, it doesn't really work out too well, just because while you do get a slight macro advantage from the sacrifice, he's awfully not that effective as a tri-lane farmer. He can't really effectively set up kills in the zone. You've got the 1 CC effect coming through from the Frost Nova. Not really going to be enough. You want Lich to actually find a fair amount of experience. So Lich operates best in the dual lane, because that way you're able to benefit your offlane. So if you decide to pick up a weak offlaner, or an offlane hero that needs a little bit of a push to get started, Lich is fantastic in that sense, because he does provide you the macro advantage of pulling back the creep wave. So at level 1 you want to eat the melee creep, and then from then on you can choose to eat the range creep if you want to control the equilibrium. Otherwise, if you just want to deny a golden experience to the enemy team, just start eating the melee creep. Raven choosing to pick up the Centaur Warrunner, and Centaur, he's a hero that's been made almost obsolete with the rising prevalence of Axe, since Axe basically performs a very similar function to the Centaur. They're both heroes that are designed to depend to get a Blink Dagger as quickly as possible, blink in, set up for your team, and quickly execute targets. Axe does this with the Cunning Blade, which scales well into every stage of the game. Also is refreshed also gives you the Stampede, whereas Centaur, he's just got the Hoofstop double edge combination. And while that is quite nice, Centaur doesn't have any way to directly influence the lane, unlike the Axe. Axe is a fantastic laning stage. In fact, if it happens to be Centaur v Axe and a 1v1 off-laner scenario, Axe will completely demolish the Centaur. Centaur won't be able to do anything to the Axe. Axe can bully out the Centaur, get a much earlier blink, since Axe also has the flexibility of starting in the jungle. In this scenario, because Anime Saikou have already picked up 2 supports, most likely will be Axe in that core position role. They do have the option of going for the Axe Lich duo lane, or even the Axe Disruptor, not too shabby as well. You do potentially have the setup gank coming through from Glimpse, the setup for the Berserker's Call. You also have a lot of poke potential coming through from the Battle Hunger, as well as the Glimpse. Or the Thunderstrike. Looks like we are going to be seeing a Deucer pick on the other side, so Anime Saikou choosing to go for Deucer after realizing that Raven, they've already shown their offlaner in the form of the Centaur Warrunner. We're not going to be seeing a Doom picking up from them. If they do decide to go for the Doom, they're actually going to be weakening their lanes, because now you're going to be seeing Doom in the 4-position greedy jungle support role, in which case you're going to be seeing the Troll and Lion most likely as the top lane. Well, all that leaves them is going to be a mid lane farmer. We're going to be seeing a Shadow Fiend coming through from Raven. Shadow Fiend, an excellent hero to deal with Deucer in the sense that Shadow Fiend comes online very quickly. Shadow Fiend's been buffed quite heavily with the fact that his raises now do 25 more damage at every level. And so it means that capped out with a level 4 raise, you've now got 650 burst damage with a dual raise compared to 600, and so you can dual raise down creep waves for the duration of an average match. Since in the past, around the 44-minute mark, the creep wave gains 610 HP, and so you have to dual raise and then smack them. Now you can dual raise them for pretty much the duration of an average match. Since usually around the 60-minute mark, you should have at least one set of racks. And so the Shadow Fiend's able to farm incredibly quickly. Also can be a great ganking hero, especially if you go for the Southeast Asian style build, where you go for the Yule Scepter Treads Aquila into Yule Scepter Blink. And so you blink, Yule Scepter a target, and then go for the YOLO Requiem if you time it perfectly against pretty much everybody on the line of Anime Saikou, with the exception of Deucer with the Mana Shield on, or maybe Axe if he goes for a Vanguard. You're going to be finding yourself a one-shot kill on pretty much any of the supports. It gives you a great amount of momentum. The drawback of that build is you do have to close out the game quite quickly. Since Shadow Fiend, he caps out as far as items are concerned, just because you have that flash firing mechanic. Unfortunately, once he caps out, he starts to hit a bit of a decline. So we're going to be seeing a Skywrath Mage now coming out from Anime Saikou. Skywrath Mage actually can work out quite nicely for Raven, so they already have telegraphed one of the supports and have telegraphed the intent to go for the Centaur on the offlane. That being said, Raven, if they do decide to go greedy and try to deal the Deucer, they can decide to pick up a hero such as the Doombringer, one of the better heroes to deal with the Deucer, just because if you can catch Deucer with the Doom every single time, at least until she gets to Lincoln's Fair, you're basically crippling the effectiveness of Anime Saikou, since with their draft, they're already telegraphing 4 Protect 1 style playstyles, and that's the only real way you could play Deucer. That's the drawback of Deucer. She's quite a rigid pick. Anime Saikou choosing to go for the Sniper in the mid lane. This should actually favor Sniper against the Shadow Fiend, since Sniper has a lot more kill potential than the Shadow Fiend, unless if Shadow Fiend's completely spot on accurate with his raises, and even then, Sniper has a lot more poke potential. So Raven choosing to ban out the Queen and Pain, one of the traditional counters to Shadow Fiend in that mid lane. You've got much higher base damage. In fact, if you choose to go for the Null Talisman at level 1, Shadow Fiend chooses not to go for any damage items, so he goes for the fairly standard double GG branches and gets full 2 tangos, so it could quickly go towards his bottle. There's a 22 base damage point difference. Queen of Pain's got a fantastic stack animation, so she should completely crush him in the mid lane. And once Queen of Pain picks up the Sonic Wave, Shadow Fiend is dead every time he shows himself. Queen of Pain has more than enough burst potential to quickly deal with the Shadow Fiend, and once he drops below a certain HP threshold, so once Shadow Fiend's around 500 HP, he's pretty much dead to the combo instantaneously. Actually, even I think 525, even 575, since you've got the pure damage now coming through from the Queen of Pain. So Raven going to be deliberating that it's the option for them now to decide to go for full greed, in which case pick up a greedy offlane hero, or looks like they're going for a greedy jungle hero. Looks like they've chosen to go for the greedy 4-position support that's going to be the Warlock. So Warlock's a hero that usually excels in the core position role, since he gives you a great harassment potential and great team fight coming through from the Chaotic Offering. Unfortunately, Warlock in the 4-position role, he basically just becomes a giant ult bot. It's one of the biggest weaknesses of the hero, very similar to when teams used to run a 4-position Tidehunter. Very powerful if you are able to find a lot of farm on them, but because they need so much farm and so much experience, it usually doesn't work out too well. So it should be interesting to see how both these teams perform. The nice thing, of course, about the Warlock is you actually have pretty good team fight if you are able to find level 6 on Warlock. Within a fairly reasonable fashion, he can actually come online quite quickly and offer you a great amount of harassment potential, especially since you've got that excellent team fight from the Stampede to set things up. It's going to introduce the players from both teams, and we do have a quick pause. Over in the lineup of Raven, we've got the Art of Throwing. He's going to be playing the 5-position Lion. Lion, unfortunately, is going to be the Wood Bitch this game, just because you want to make sure that Warlock gets level 6 and gets something like a Hand of Midas as quickly as possible. So Xperia, he's going to be the 4-position Warlock. Yukarin, the stand-in, he's going to be playing the offline Centaur Warrunner as the 3. Vids, he's going to be the 1-position farmer as the Troll Warlord, although I suppose Kumo can be debatable. Kumo is going to be the 2 positions, the mid lane Shadow Fiend, also can be the 1 since Troll Warlord. He's a hero that scales very well, but he needs a lot of farm to be effective. over in the lineup of the Radiant side for Anime Saikou. Going to be seeing Ascolicious as the Axe. He's going to be the 3 position role for their team. Restoration going to be playing the 2 position Sniper. In the mid lane, most likely Don't Waste My Time going to be playing the Lich in that 5 position role, as Lich is going to be a lot less item and EXP independent compared to Freyheit as a Disruptor. You want to pick up level 6 on Disruptor as quickly as possible. Really needs access to that Static Storm if he wants to have any kind of teamfight impact. And Barker going to be playing the 1 position Deucer. Usually Shadow Fiend, he's actually, not the Shadow Fiend, the Sniper is a very greedy mid. He can actually perform that 1 position role in that mid lane. But in this scenario, because you've got Deucer, and Deucer's the single hardest carry in the game, bar none, maybe except the Tinker if Tinker gets big enough. Deucer's going to be playing the true 1 position, Restoration's going to be playing the 2. Because you've got Axe to be a space creator, works very nicely for the lineup of Anime's Saikous. You've got both the Axe as well as Disruptor, so Berserker's Call, Static Storm can be absolutely devastating, especially since you've got Sniper hanging in the back line, plinking away people while Deucer stands at the front line, tries to draw fire. Since Deucer is such an innately tanky hero, you usually want to spam as many stats as possible on Deucer and go for defensive oriented items. Looks like we might even be seeing Deucer mid, with the 2 GG branches coming out from Barker. Looks like it's going to be telegraphing Deucer in the mid lane. Never mind, it has picked up the boost of speed. It's a very unusual build coming out from Barker. Usually when Deucer goes into the side lane, you want to start with a Ring of Protection, so you can pick up your Ring of Aquila as quickly as possible. Just the Basilius helps out a great deal. Of course, the nice thing about starting with boots is it does make you a lot more survivable, so it's going to make it very difficult for the Centaur Warrior to try to get in range for the Hoof Stomp. Restoration as the mid lane Sniper. Looks like he's actually choosing not to start with a Wraith Band, so a very interesting build coming up from him. It's actually slightly inefficient. The reason why I usually start with a Wraith Band is Sniper has such low base damage at level 1, very similar to a Shadow Fiend. You want to try compensate that as much as possible. Axe looks like he's actually going to be a solo offlaner, so Axe is usually run in a dual lane, especially since you have access to both Lich and Disruptor. So you have that flexibility. I suppose they really are putting all their eggs in the Sniper as well as the Deucer basket. So Ascolicious going to be having a difficult time since Axe 1v3 usually doesn't do too well unless the enemy team makes a mistake. So Vid's might actually scout him out. Looks like he's going to reveal Ascolicious. Ascolicious hasn't actually placed a safety ward. Vid's going to go ham, start throwing in a few cheeky right clicks. And looks like Kumo, he's going for a fairly standard Shadow Fiend build. Actually, you usually see Shadow Raise at 1. With Shadow Fiend, deciding to rush a bottle just because it ensures you can find it by the minute mark, or against matchups where you think you don't have the basic attack advantage, so against a hero such as Sniper. And Sniper has such fantastic attack animation, Sniper should be having a ball of a time. So Restoration, scouts out that the bounty rune has in fact been taken, aggressive Observer Ward placed by the Dire sides to give them vision, and Restoration's just wasting his time, didn't go for the creep block at all. It's not really too sure what he's accomplishing there, Kumo. Going to find himself a free creep wave, and every time Shadow Fiend starts with a free creep wave, it's going to become very difficult for you to recover. Sniper looks like he's actually just choosing to go for Ancient, so Restoration choosing to stack Ancients before doing anything, unless he's actually going to rotate to the mid lane. Maybe he might have AFK'd out, as we do see a quick pause coming through from Freyheit. Not going to be the greatest start, so Sniper and his teammates are asking what the hell you're up to. We are going to be seeing a bit of an unconventional Observer Ward being placed. I believe this should block the cap, looks like it has. It's a good recognition coming through from Ukraine as a Centaur Warrior, and he's going to be having a bit of a difficult time just because there's such a large amount of poke potential coming through from Don't Waste My Time as well as Freeheart. You've got Thunderstrike as well as the constant Frost Nova harassment, and Barker with the Mystic Snakes can make it difficult for Ukraine to accomplish much. With that being said, looks like the support's actually playing quite passive. You usually want to stand in front of the Centaur, so you want to be standing around here. That way Centaur's going to be forced to get zoned out, so he's not even going to be in EXP range. Of course, you do have to keep in mind, you might draw creep aggro, so you have to constantly A-click your own creeps to de-aggro yourself. Since once you A-click a hero, it will prioritize creeps and towers to attack you above anything else. So Ascolicious over in the top lane, I mean, eating a little bit of harassment just because it looks like Arthur Throwing isn't currently in position to potentially set up a kill. He actually went for Earth Spike at 1, going to be a massive mistake coming out from him. Earth Spike at 1 is usually only skilled if you're going for a 3v3 scenario or if it's a level 1 skirmish and you think you can hit more than one hero, otherwise the Hex is always going to be a lot more reliable. Looks like Xperia, waiting around the wings, choosing to go for the early Ring of Basilius. So Ring of Protection on Warlock actually does make him quite durable. You also can choose to go for the Tranquil Boots to make sure that you're always topped up, so you can afford to spam out the Shadow Word on your allies. So Xperia, his sole job is to try to zone out Ascolicious. That being said, you also want to make sure that you're constantly stacking and pulling through both the medium camp and the hard camp. So you want to go for the double pull through, so stack this, go for a pull, and then double pull through by drawing through the hard camp here. That's just to make sure that you don't fall behind on your experience as well as the private experience over the Axe. Since Axe doesn't really have a way to go 1v3 compared to the Centaur, Centaur at least makes it difficult for them to dive in with the Hoofstorm. I suppose both of them are very similar in the sense they don't have a way to influence their lane. Restoration, he's missed the entire creep wave's worth of experience. Akumo's already got the advantage, he also got the bounty rune, so he's got a full level's worth of advantage. He's actually almost capped out his Necromastery, so he's going to be having a ball of a time this mid lane. This is the lane that Restoration should have had a dramatic advantage at level 1. Looks like he is still unable to find himself a single last hit, so Kumo going to be having himself a pretty easy lane. From this point, Restoration going to be fighting an uphill battle, and Shadow Fiend's one of those heroes that can be quite high impact. in the sense that he can set up ganks, especially if he decides to go for the Yule Scepter Blink Dagger build. Otherwise, if he decides just to go for conventional carry items, still can be a high impact hero in the sense that he just does so much damage to your supports. Restoration, finally finding himself a few last hits. He will be having the Ring of Achilles flying out towards him fairly soon. He chooses to go for that route. Also went for take aim at 1. Very confused by this. Usually a sniper going take aim is only going to be if you're playing the offlane sniper or if you're playing sniper in the side lane and you're fearing potential aggression coming through from the enemy team. Usually you see the shrapnel at 1 or headshot at 1. In this scenario, headshot at 1 might actually be more valuable against the Shadow Fiend, just to make sure that you're able to completely dominate him in the laning stage. Kumo can be eating a little bit of shrapnel harassment damage. You can actually just choose to run up towards Restoration. It's being completely zoned out, choosing to play quite conservatively, waiting until he gets his bottle. As far as the offlane is concerned, Askalicious going to be eating a fair amount of harassment damage. You've got the Fatal Bonds, now doing a little bit of chip damage as Xperia, trying to zone him out. So it looks like Askalicious is going to be having a difficult time. He has picked up level 2, almost level 3 compared to Eucharon, so he's got a slight EXP advantage. I believe he was able to secure the, never mind, he wasn't able to secure the bounty rune to Eucharon. Chose to actually go for a point return early on. It does make sense because it does give you the potential contingency of going into the jungle, but he's going to get a lot of harassment damage. Just don't waste my time. Goes and gets caught by the hoof stomp though. Freyheit unfortunately doesn't have access to the glimpse. Even if he did, would have been out of range. So Eucharon, the early point returns doing a lot of work at harassing out the supports, at least making them trade tit for tat. Looks like Restoration now having some items flowing towards him. Looks like it is going to be the Ring of Achilles. Actually, the boots. So he's got two. He's got a great defensive item to help deal with Kumo, but Kumo doesn't really care about that. He can passively win the lane by going for these last hits, especially since he's got such a good advantage from the Necromastery charges. Kumo, there's going to be a lane that he's actually got the advantage in. The only way he can lose it at this point is if he overextends against Restoration, just because he's got enough base damage. He should be able to contest Sniper fairly effectively for last hits. Askalicious is going to get himself a free creep wave, so that's actually going to be quite a huge advantage being gained by him to ensure that he picks up level 4 underneath the safety of his tower. So you want to make sure the creep wave, if you're the offlane, is going to be around this region where the mouse is pointing, just because it means that you're close enough to your tower that they can't play aggressively against you, they can't zone you out from experience. Looks like Art of Throwing picks up a haste rune, runs himself around, might actually look to set up a kill against Restoration, although the thing you have to keep in mind with Sniper is it's all or nothing. You have to commit against Sniper and ensure you get the kill, otherwise if you decide to back away, unless you've got something like a haste rune, Sniper can turn things around and make it very ugly. He's got Shrapnel and Headshot, he's got two very potent snares to ensure that he can turn around engagements. Speaking of which, Freyheit as well as Don't Waste My Time. Currently not really accomplishing much because their count's being blocked off, they don't have any sentries available. We do have Boots now picked up by Freyheit, so it's getting closer and closer towards that level 2 glimpse. Can actually set up a potential kill against Eucharon, but until they're able to kill Eucharon, Eucharon's wasting the support's time, that's actually giving him quite a nice advantage. So early point return doing a lot of work against Freyheit, especially since if you cancel an attack animation against Centaur, you still take the damage. The instant you go in for an attack, you take the damage. Here comes Glimpse. Eucharon could be first blood. Goes in for the hoof stomp. Might actually be to turn things around. Freyheit eating a huge amount of damage. Eucharon, he has to commit to this now. Goes in for first blood, is able to find it. It's going to be taking his own death, but that's actually going to be quite advantageous for him. In the best possible scenario, since he was caught out of position with that Glimpse. Askalicious in the meanwhile, doing a little bit of Battle Hunger damage out of Vitz. He really should be Battle Hungering Xperia if anybody else. He could be taking a death here. He's actually caught out by the Welling Axis, and Vitz, one more cheeky right click might be enough. Here comes the Shadow Word. Shadow Word, I believe, would be enough damage, unfortunately, with level 1. Actually, never mind. It might be. No, he should be fine. Actually, no, he's dead. Never mind. The Fatal Bond's going to be enough to ensure his kill. So they will be able to find that. Ooh. Axe regen, base HP regen going to be too high, so it looks like he is just barely able to keep himself alive. Restoration in the mid lane. With the Illusion Runes trying to zone out Kumo, but Kumo, he's got almost 3 times the amount of last hits Restoration has. So Restoration's off to a poor start, and Sniper is a hero that you really want to... The only reason why you pick Snipers in the mid lane in particular is because he has such great one-on-one laning potential, especially since you've got that excellent attack animation as well as fairly high base damage once you factor in the headshot procs. And with the Shrapnel, you're able to apply a lot of harassment potential. So Sniper makes the mid lane very gankable. You can actually solo gank and kill Kumo, especially if you're able to constantly chain up those Shrapnels with a little bit of harassment damage coming up from him. Kumo, he's completely dominating this mid lane matchup, so it will be interesting to see if he does decide to go for the Snowball build of the Yule Scepter into the Blink Dagger. Looks like he's going to be getting a little bit of poke harassment from Restoration, but Restoration, it's cute. He's just constantly poking, prodding him, not going to do enough to threaten the kill. Don't see a bottle pickup on Sniper. Sniper's a fairly ineffective bottle carrier. I suppose he's not too shabby, but there are better items you could be going for. Most likely going to be seeing something like the Ferrari 430 build, which is the phase boots into S and Y Mask of Madness, or Mask of Madness S and Y, depending on your playstyle. Usually the Mask of Madness is picked up as a farming item, because it does give you the ability to actually farm Ancients. Kumo turns around the cheeky E-raise and Restoration saying, get the hell out of the dodge. Back away, this is my backyard. We are going to be seeing engagement as Vitz could be taking a death there. Freyheit, he does have the glimpse, going to glimpse it back. Askalicious, unfortunately, miscommunication, keeps chasing him. Vitz might be in a disengage. He throws out the blinding axis, catches out Askalicious. Askalicious goes in with the Berserker's Call. Fortunately, not going to be enough damage to threaten the kill, especially since Xperia's there. Xperia has activated the Ring of Achilles, so he's actually pushing through the creep wave. Would like to see him deactivate that, because you're giving free experience over the axe. and Axe is going to be a high impact threat, very similar to the Centaur Warrunner. You don't want to give him anything for free, so Axe is getting closer towards his Tranquil Boots. Once he gets them, he's going to be quite difficult to dislodge from that lane. Kumo almost takes a death, looks like it costs an assassinate. A thing to keep in mind when you're playing sniper with the assassination is they have to be below 299 HP. Can actually take a death as, don't waste my time. Goes in for the Frostbolt. That being said, Ukraine turns things around, Raze comes through, double edge, it's a trap, says Kumo, finds himself a freebie kill. Restoration shows up a little bit late, he's got the assassinate, doesn't have the mana to do so, as he went in for the shrapnel. Even without the shrapnel, still wouldn't have been enough. Had he finished his Ring of Aquila or the Ring of Basilius, might have actually had enough mana to set up that kill. It's a bit embarrassing for him, especially since it costs his support's life. But you're going to be seeing engagement in top lane. Xperia, he should be fine. Vid's going to find himself another kill against Freyheart. Would actually like to see Vids stay in melee form, maybe try to get a few bash hits in against Freyheart. Looks like Freyheart's able to find one. But Vids, switching to melee form, going for the Whirling Axis, doesn't even need it, just right-clicks him down. He does have Phase Boots and the Orb of Venom. Orb of Venom just indicates you want a second melee form, the range snare's not going to be that effective. Vids choosing not to go for a point in the fervor, you usually see one in fervor. Some players like to skip it in the lane stage because it does give you more mobility. So it is understandable since Vids, he's been spending most of his time in the range form. That being said, the drawback of not going for a point in fervor is it does delay your push potential, does slightly impact your farming speed, but I suppose since he's having such a good time in the top lane, not going to be too impactful. Barker, choosing to go for the Lincoln Sphere. Lincoln Sphere this game, not going to be that effective because you've got mana drain coming through from the line. So you usually want to go towards much more effective early game items, especially since you see your teams playing from behind. Lincoln Sphere on Deuce is great because it gives you very effective stats, as well as the constant mana regen, so you can spam out your Mystic Snake and always have your mana shield topped up. The drawback to Lincoln Sphere is the farming item, you can't really fight with a Lincoln Sphere on Deucer, and Deucer's fundamental weakness is that she forces your team to play 4v5. And so you want to go for very cost-effective items that will help you come online a lot earlier. Ukraine, hiding himself to the tree line, might be just find himself a freebie kill against Freyheart. Into the double edge coming through from Ukraine, doesn't actually have enough mana for the Stampede, so he's coming into this, don't waste my time. Throwing out a few more right clicks, Freyheart might be actually turn things around, goes into the connect field, unfortunately actually catches Ukraine. Ukraine's going to be taking a death if he's not too careful. Another Frostbite, here comes the Mystic Snake, one more cheeky right click, and looks like Barker's able to find it. Went for some QT plays, but good recognition coming through from Freyheart as well as don't waste my time, providing a bit of assistance to his teammate in need. Kumo going to be picking up that haste rune. He's been holding onto his gold for now. Could be seeing a hand of minus build come out from him if he wants to go full greed. Otherwise, we also could be seeing a very early Yafet style Blink Dagger, or the Yule Scepter's got a lot of flexibility. Ascalicious actually takes down Vids. Vids was diving underneath the tower. Might be to find himself another kill against Xperia. Spot the Stampede movement speed. Going to keep chasing. Unfortunately, won't be able to get off another Berserker's Call. Now there's Tranquil Boots is broken to Xperia. Stampede's going to be committed as they look to set up a kill against Revolution in the mid lane, or Restoration. Arthur throwing goes in for the Hex. Restoration's going to be taking a death as they follow up Earthspike. Actually going to whiff, and now Restoration going to find himself a freebie. This is what I mean by the turnaround potential. If you commit for a kill against Sniper, you have to go all or nothing. If you try to back away, always going to be feeding a free kill towards him, and Restoration might be to find himself another kill against Kumo. Kumo, he gets glimpsed back, he still has haste for a little bit longer. Assassinate could give vision for now. Drops in low, doesn't actually have any bottle charges, but decides to just TP himself out. I suppose it's going to be the best play from him, as Restoration still on the hunt. So Restoration, off the back of that misplay coming through from Arthur throwing, had he decided to commit with the Earthspike, they actually could have just focused fighting down and then back away, as opposed to sticking around for too long and deciding to disengage. So Restoration finds himself a freebie kill, much needed as he's getting closer and closer towards, looks like he's actually just going with a cheeky Ring of Protection. Could decide to just save towards the Morbid Mask now. Ukraine had good progress towards that Blink Dagger, unfortunately with the deaths he's received. Looks like he chose to go for a second point return. Not really too sure I agree with this return to 1 point wonder. You really need that maxed out double edge. Had he maxed out that double edge, it would have actually been a kill earlier on against Freyheart, so it's already impacting his effectiveness in this game. And Centaur Warren is a hero that you need that Blink Dagger as quickly as possible. You need that maxed out double edge, because that's how you actually kill people. Return, it's cute for the first point because it does provide a bit of tip for tap harassment. It also helps you jungle, but other than that, you don't really need any more points in it until you've maxed out your other abilities. Ascalicious, that being said, he's not making that great progress towards Blink Dagger. Going to whiff his Berserker's Call, and Vid's now turning things around. Here comes potential turnaround plays, the Fatal Bonds as well as the Shadow Word. Going to do a little bit of harassment damage over the Ascalicious. Vids might have been actually able to set something up if he committed with the melee form range Whirling Axes. Decided not to do so. Double damage can be picked up as Restoration in the mid lane, backing himself away. We could be seeing a potential Stampede dive. All he needs to do is Stampede and double edge. It's going to be enough damage to kill him. Unfortunately, never mind, he's got 2 points. Had he had the third point double edge, he could have just gone for a YOLO play against Restoration. So Yukiro now just wasting time. You really should be farming the enemy jungle in this case, to make sure you're accomplishing something with that double damage rune, to make sure you're not just running around aimlessly. Because as a Centaur Warrunner, you need something like a 14 to 16 minute Blink Dagger with the rate that he's been playing. Ukraine, he's not too far off. I suppose he's at least a third of the way there, almost halfway there. But he needs to really pick up the speed, because the onus of pressure is going to be over on the line of Raven. If the game goes late, Saikou got a fantastic late team fighting lineup. You've got the slow siege potential, or the base defense potential of Deucer and Sniper. So these are two of the best hard carries when it comes to defending high ground. Sniper's able to plink down the creep wave and spam out shrapnel. Deuce does the exact same thing with split shot as well as the Mystic Snake. Escalation maybe set up a Berserker Score, catches up 2 Xberry, is dead. One more right click, here comes a dunk coming through from him. Kelly offering not going to be enough. Escalation should just be the disengaging vids, won't be able to run him down. Now he's stuck in melee form for too long. Might be to set up a kill against don't waste my time, turns around the Chain Frost. Chain Frost bouncing back and forth. Other throwing, that actually set up a kill against his teammate, as they're able to trade a Lich in exchange for vids. Going to be a very favourable trade coming out from the boys in Anime Saikou. Freyheit, glimpse to come out from him. Other throwing. Freyheit actually had vision to go for that glimpse. Could still choose to go for the glimpse, but other throwing, able to juke him out. It's a little bit unfortunate. Freyheit, very slow with the reflexes there to set up that glimpse. Looks like Kumo finds himself a kill against Sniper in the mid lane, so he actually chose to go for a very old school item, the Shadow Blade on the Shadow Fiend. Very effective item, you can find it by the 17-minute mark. So he's found an 11-minute Shadow Blade, especially since he's already able to find himself a kill. That Shadow Blade's basically paid for itself. So it's a very timing-specific momentum item. If you're able to find it around before the 17-minute mark, because that's you can't expect sports to have dust or sentries. By that point, it's going to be taking a disproportionate amount of what little income they do receive from basically neutral creeps that are just passive gold income, maybe one from a kill or two. So you're able to have a lot of impact with that item. Going to be making a lot of sense. It gave himself a free kill against Sniper. Now he can look to set up a kill in the top lane. Looks like he actually went for a Requiem play. Xperia actually going with the Berserker Score. So Ascalicious, very misplay coming up from him. A little bit of lack of coordination. We are going to be seeing the Shadow Blade engage from Kumo. He could just whack down Freyheit. Freyheit's going to be taking death if he's not too careful. Hit him twice, go in for a raise. Even just hit him once if he has a point. Since he's got the point in the presence of the Dark Lord, looks like they are able to disengage in time. And Vids, he actually pings out the fact that this hard camp's been stacked. Ascalicious, he's going to say, oh, sweet, that's going to be my Blink Dagger. He's going to snatch it. And there's no response coming through from the Dire team. Ascalicious, he just found himself a 13-minute Blink Dagger, as well as depriving golden experience. So that's triple hard camp. He's able to clear out. Closer and closer towards his Blink Dagger, about 100 gold off. Then we're seeing Kumo just camping around the top lane, so now he's being very inefficient with his rotation. He's giving a free lane over Restoration. If we have a look as far as net worth's concerned, Restoration, he's slowly clawing himself back into this. He's still pretty far behind, has now picked up that Morbid Mask, and we will be seeing the Mask of Madness build coming up from him. But because you've got the late game assurance of Baka, and Baka hasn't been touched in the bottom lane, he's actually already got 2 kills to his name. Freyheit, gonna be maybe looking to scout out Vids. Vids, he knows something's not quite right. Something's wrong to say to Denmark. He's missing his hard camp. Kumo, still just sitting there, wasting his time. He really should have just rotated back mid. Even if you do find yourself, say, a double kill, unless you also take the tower, you've wasted way too much time. You've given too much momentum. Free golden experience over Restoration. Restoration found himself pretty much a free kill. Free lane in the mid lane. Freyheit's going to take a death there. They don't actually need Kumo. Kumo may turn around against Ascalicious. Ascalicious going to get hurt on the first advantage or third advantage from Vids. And will find himself a double kill. Now he has to take that tower for it to be worthwhile. Otherwise, because while that's happening, Restoration, he should just sit there in the mid lane, just decide to take down the tail 1 mid tower. Say, okay, I can't rotate in time, this tower's going to be mine. You trade tit for tat, you know you're going to be losing that tail 1 tower in time. You probably can't react in time, especially since you've got 2 of your heroes down, so it'll be 3v5 if you decide to contest. And I've also got a Troll Warlord, so this is the reason why Troll's such a powerful tempo hero as far as carry's concerned. Every time you take a fight or you take an engagement, you're able to find yourself a kill. You take a tower with Battle Trance. So looks like he is able to do so. Restoration, the best case scenario for him is to try to do as much damage to the tier 1 mid as possible. You don't want to go in and try to defend that tower. That tower's already gone. The smarter case is to cut your losses and try to find your farm elsewhere. You've got the better late game. All you have to do is try to make the game go late. Kumo is actually revealed, going to be caught with a glimpse into the stack zone, going to be taking a death there. Not going to be very careful with that. Essentially will catch him out. Other throwing, true to his name, walks into the shrapnel, going to be taking a death. Restoration, assassination. MLG no scope, he says 420 Blaze, finds himself a double kill. Tail on town in the mid, now going to be taking a fall. So Restoration going to be blinking away. He just found his Mask of Madness off the back of that. Going to be seeing most likely a Yasha into an S and Y. Also could be seeing a Blink Dagger, some much more aggressive European sniper players like to go for the Blink. In this case, would actually prefer to see the S and Y. Gives you a much higher likelihood of surviving the potential initiation coming through from Raven. Looks like Eucharin has finally found himself as Blink Dagger, so actually identical Blink time coming out from both these players. Even though Ascalicious had an easier time in lane, he's actually able to find himself a lot more kills. Even though he took the same amount of deaths, since Eucharin's pretty much zoned out, especially because he went for a very ineffective skill build by going for the second point in return. The reason why I keep harping on about this point is it cost him a kill against Freyheit. Had he found that kill when he went for that double-edged play, would have actually been worthwhile even if he died, because he's at least able to find himself some gold and much more importantly some experience. Baka now should be having the Lincoln Sphere, going to be knocking down the tail 1 in the bottom lane. And so Anime Saikou, Saikou are actually playing this as effectively as possible. They know that they don't want to go for 5-on-5 engagements against Raven. Every time they do that, Raven should actually have the upper hand. They've got the better initiation, they've got the better team fight coming through from the Chaotic offering into the Requiem, especially with the Fatal Bonds. And to the best case scenario for them, it's a split up. If they're going to group up as 5, say, okay, you could group up as 5, we'll sacrifice that lane. We'll split push mid as well as bot. We are going to be seeing engagements Kumo. Stampede unfortunately reveals it. Here comes the hook, blink into the hook stomp. Requiem not even going to be used. Just from Requiem down. Here comes the counter initiation. Finger of Death being committed. Askalicious doing such a huge amount of work. Static Storm. Here comes one dunk. Here comes 2 dunks. I'm under throwing. Also going to be taking a death there. Choosing not to go for the dunk. There we go. Xperia. Going to be taking a death with a few more cheeky right clicks. Glimpse back from Kumo. No way out for him. Does turn Standards ground. The suicide Requiem actually ensures Xperia finds himself another kill. Shadow Word keeping Xperia alive. Vitz throws himself, gonna whip the welding axes. It looks like Freyheit could be taking a death there. Vitz should still be able to run him down. Dies. Korean meanwhile took a fall. It looks like it actually was holding a fair amount of items. Couldn't be most likely a Yasha for Vitz. Vitz gonna get glimpsed back. Good presence of mind coming through from Freyheit. That combination of the Blink Berserker's call into the Static Storm because he held onto that Requiem. Unfortunately, threw away 3 kills. They are still going to be losing that tower, but Restorations find himself 1 in the mid lane. Now also rotating to potentially set up a kill. Only 2 heroes here. The Golem's going to be doing a fair amount of work, but Vitz on his own can't really do that much, especially since Xperia. Almost at the bottom of Xperia at this point. He might be able to take this tower. Here comes Shrapnel, looking to turn things around. Deuce is also coming in. Double Shrapnel as well as the Upheaval. Stone Gaze is going to be popped from Barker. Might be able to turn Xperia to stun. Looks like Xperia is going to be the Sacrificial Lamb. Other Restoration, should be able to find it. Mystic Snake comes through. Actually ends a killing spree. He found himself 2 kills in that last engagement. Other throwing. That has picked up the Owner Shadow. Is going to find himself a haste room. We are going to be seeing an engagement in the bottom lane. They say, okay, no Chaotic Offering, no Stampede, no Finger. Let's group up, let's force this fight. Let's take a tower now. Barker has finished his Lincoln Spare, so he was actually incredibly durable in that last engagement. They really needed to throw out that Requiem. Kumo, then they called out position. Askalicious goes in for a Blink Berserker's call. Here comes Ukraine, goes in for a Blink Hoof Stomp. Assassination, not going to be enough. Here comes the Chain Frost, will be enough to ensure that kill. Ukraine also going to be taking a death, as he's backing himself away for now. Askalicious will be to set up another Berserker's call. Never mind, other throwing. That will keep himself alive. That haste run doing such a huge amount of work. Askalicious goes in for a great Berserker call over Ukraine. Other throwing turns around. Fortunately reveals himself for a glimpse. Now going to take a death. Static Storm to Kinetic Field. And Freyheit going to be the MVP of these engagements. Doing such a huge amount of work with those Static Storms, especially in conjunction with Askalicious. Finds himself 3 quick turnaround kills as well as a tier 1 tower. Going to be a fantastic advantage game by the boys in Anime Saikou. 2k EXP lead, gold lead as well as a 2.6k EXP lead. If we have a look at the experience graph, now going to be stabilizing about 5,000 in the hands of Anime Saikou. As far as gold, the gold lead from Raven's been completely neutralized off the back of those 2 engagements. It's a great turnaround play coming through from Askalicious. Really setting up for that great counter initiation combo. Looks like Warlock's Ferris choosing to go straight into the Aghanim Scepter. Has actually picked up the Arcane Boots. Usually you see Warlock players choose to go for a Hand of Midas just to make sure you get a lot of experience, so you don't fall behind in gold. Excellent D-warding constantly coming through. The Sentry wards being placed by Freyheit to constantly make sure that Restoration, wherever he is, even though he had a very ineffective laning start, he actually pretty much threw the level 1 laning stage. He didn't show himself for the first creep wave. He gave it easy lane over to Kumo. Unfortunately, Kumo, whose momentum's been halted, in fact, since he went for the Shadow Blade, unfortunately, unlike the Blink Dagger, it can be countered by sentries. It's the reason why Shadow Blade often isn't picked up in the competitive scene. It's unreliable, because you still have to actually walk up to someone and hit them. Whereas the Blink Dagger, if they blink on top of you, there's literally nothing you can do to prevent them from blinking, unless if you're able to catch him before he blinks with something like a Shrapnel or a right click. And so Blink Dagger always gives you the advantage of it being a lot more reliable and consistent. Xperia going to take a death there. Other throwing goes in for the Hex, going to set up a 2-man Earth Spike. Assassination comes through. Chaotic Offering, they might actually be able to stand their ground. Finger of Death over an Askalicious. He's taking a huge amount of damage. A few more cheeky right clicks from that Mask of Madness. Blinking away Xperia. Xperia's taking a huge amount of hurt here. Here comes the Upheaval. Looks like Warlock might be able to find himself 1. He actually brought down Freyheit. Looks like he should be able to bring down Askalicious as well. Dot damage, unfortunately, not going to be enough. They need to rely on Fatal Bond ticks. While that's happening, Vitz chasing down Restoration. 1 more right click. He's able to blink himself at the time. Out of throwing, unfortunately going to whiff that Earth Spike. 1 more cheeky right click to be enough. Don't waste my time. Out of mana, actually going to be showing himself. Going to be very risky. Throws on a cheeky Frost Armor, but Ukraine doesn't actually have enough mana to throw out that Stampede. Stampede's on cooldown. Not going to be taking a death as Askalicious blinks on top of him. Goes up to the Berserker's Call. He's got the dunk. Ukraine's going to be taking a death. And Askalicious, great turnaround play coming out from him. He has actually finished his Vanguard. Here comes Xperia, catching up to waste my time as well as other throwing. Support for support, no Chain Frost, no Mercies. Looks like the Chaotic Offering doing a fair amount of work there. And Xperia, you can actually look to push down the mid tower, apply a large amount of pressure. Sentry what's going to be placed to de-ward the potential defensive Observer Ward coming out from the Radiant side. Also look to place an aggressive Observer Ward to scout out potentially if they're deciding to stack or pull Ancients. Something that supports really should be more on top of Askalicious. Catches out Kumo. Kumo's going to get dunked. Askalicious is doing a huge amount of work with that Blink Dagger. Now he has that Vanguard. Going to be incredibly durable. These engagements would like to see something like a Blade Melt pick up on him. Because Raven actually have a lot of uncontrolled AoE from the Requiem, from the Chaotic Offering itself, from the Whirling Axes, potentially even from the Earth Spike or the Double Edge, if you're able to splash it. Other throwing, going towards what appears to be the 4-star. He could be taking a death though, as the Mask of Madness has been showing. He's actually dead. 1 more right click, going into the Assassination, coming through from Restoration. And Arthur throwing, true to his name, going to be blown to pieces. So something you have to keep in mind against a sniper. When you know sniper's up, you really don't want to do anything like that if you're on your own as a support, or if you're with another support that can't interrupt the sniper, because he's able to set up some easy kills. We are going to be seeing SMY completed over on Vids. Most likely SMY into something like an IS Guardi will be very effective on him. BKB is actually going to be ineffective this game, just because you've got so many abilities that penetrate it. You've got the Berserker's Call, you've got the Stone Gaze from Dusa. Looks like, speaking of which, Freyheim does reveal himself, goes in for the right-clicking into Ukraine. Ukraine, unfortunately, Lincoln Sphere shows himself, and Barker says surprise, turns things around against Kumo, now caught inside the Static Storm. Here comes Vids, looks like Freyheim's going to be taking a death there. Barker turns around the Stone Gaze, Vids going to be turned to stone. And Barker going to disengage, maybe look to go for a TP home. Unfortunately, doesn't have any mana, so he's also choosing to go for the Maelstrom. Maelstrom is a very ineffective item on Dusa, just because it doesn't help you scale well to late game. Ukraine catches one, turns around for the double edge, but don't waste my time. He's got Chain Frost, he actually turns around, Vids walks back into it. Chain Frost going to be bouncing at least once. Ukraine eats a little bit of damage, he's got that Shadow Word though. Don't waste my time, I'm just going to YOLO into the enemy team, just throws his life away, saying take me instead. Leave Barker alone. So he just says, hey, you guys hungry? Throws his life away. Here comes the assassination, but Ukraine able to keep himself alive. Looks like that cloak actually saved his bacon. So they are going to be seeing the SMI pick up on the Troll Warlord. Are they throwing? Finding some fun in the mid lane, want to go for that 4-star as quickly as possible. Blink Dagger is usually more reliable on the line, just because with a Blink, you could be the one initiating on them, especially since you have Hex. And 4-star, if you're going to be caught in that position, you're usually dead just because you're so damn fragile. Kumo, going to go for the Requiem. Restoration going to be eating a huge amount of damage. Unfortunately, he wasn't right on top of him. Does find the kill with the E-Rays. Here comes the Celtic Offering, going to land over an Escalicious, trying to catch out Xperia. Meanwhile, Kumo stands the ground with the Battletron, doing a lot of damage over the Escalicious. Escalicious with the other Berserker's Call is going to dunk down Kumo. Kumo, unfortunately, going to be taking another death. And double kill being picked up by Escalicious, now on the mega kill streak. He's having a time of his life. Airs actually chosen to go for the Crimson Guard. Does make a lot of sense, it does drastically impede the damage output coming through from the boys in Raven. Barker, meanwhile, in the mid lane, has picked up the Maelstrom. The reason why I don't really like the Maelstrom is basically a farming item on ranged hero. You already have a farming item to Lincoln Sphere. Well, your next item should actually be something that gives your team some kind of benefit. So usually you see something like an IS Guardi from the Lincoln Sphere, because IS Guardi does everything. It means you don't have to go for a BKB. It means you're so damn tanky that even if they catch you, they're probably not going to kill you, especially if you find it by the 23-26 minute mark, which Barker might have been able to do so. The Maelstrom doesn't scale well to the late game, and when you're playing a Dusa, every single item you purchase should gear yourself towards the ultra late game, with maybe the exception of the Ring of Aquila, since the Ring of Aquila is going to basically serve as your early game potential if you decide not to go for the Lincoln Sphere. So because he's picked up that Maelstrom, Maelstrom's actually counterintuitive. If you Stone Gaze somebody, they're completely immune to magic damage. We are going to be seeing 2 Battletrons in a row. They know Vid's going for Roshan. The only reason why you can't Battletrons with no creeps around, or no heroes around, is if he's either going for an Ancient Cycle for Roshan. Because you heard 2 back-to-back, you know it's going to be Roshan. So Vid's actually found himself a freebie there. Looks like he's choosing to go for a BKB. Other throwing. Was also hanging around with the Invis room, maybe looking to scout things out. We do see a defensive observer ward being placed. This ward actually doesn't make a lot of sense, especially since you want to group up and take that tail 1 tower. I actually want to place an observer ward there, so that way you have vision of when support's going to rotate, as well as where anyone is at any given point. We do actually see 2 sentry wards dropped almost back to back, so a little bit of panic there to try to catch out Kumo. Another sentry ward being placed in Freyheim. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting for his team, just by constantly having the sentry wards. Kumo, once again, caught out of position. That Shadow Blade worked out once, now going to be leading towards death. Does pop that Shadow Blade, unfortunately he's going to be glimpsed back in the range, going to get dunked down Escalicious. Now unstoppable. He's having such a great game this game. Here comes out the throwing. Let's catch out 1 at least. Vid's also going ham. He's able to find himself an easy kill against Restoration. Vid's might actually be able to turn things around single-handedly. It looks like Escalation now out of mana. Crimson Guard ensures they're not taking all too much damage, but Vid's just going to be able to bash down Freyheim. As he's sticking around in range form, here comes Ukraine, goes in for the double-edge play. He is able to bash down Freyheim. We do see a rotation now coming through from Xperia. Escalation going 1 against the world. Here comes the Chain Frost, doing a huge amount of work. Escalation is standing his ground. Should be the dunk down Ukraine. He's low enough for 1 more cheeky right click for it to be enough. Well, that happens. Barker forces back Vids. Vids still has the edges to the immortal, but Escalicious, he can actually kill him twice, especially if he's able to catch him in position. Ukraine goes over the double edge. Vids stabs the ground, finds himself a triple kill. Don't waste my time. Also get bash blow down by Vids. They're finally able to bring down the big bad troll Xperia. He knows he's dead. Might as well find himself a retaliatory kill. Mystic Snake gonna bounce back to the creep blade. Finds himself a 3-bit of mana over the Barker. Here comes Vids trying to bash down Barker, and Barker's actually gonna be taking death if he's not too careful. First hit bash gonna be coming through from him. Vids. No second follow through bash coming out. You've got to switch in the range form for the whirling axes. Here comes Ukraine, goes in for a great double edge into the Berserkers, into the Hoostomp to double edge to break the Lincoln Sphere, and Vids finds himself another kill. It's a good turnaround play coming through from Vids. This is the power of the Troll Warlord. You just run at people, and they're forced to retreat away from you just because you've got such great man-fighting potential. Very few heroes can go toe-to-toe or blow for blow against a troll this early on and live. The only hero that will reliably pull through against a troll is going to be the Phantom Assassin. That's just because of blow. Every other hero is going to get ripped to pieces. And so he was able to do that to great effect against Restoration, killing him inside of the fight. Especially since Barker, that Stone Gaze is immediately baited out coming through from Vid. So good recognition coming through from him. Really ensure they're able to take that engagement. That's actually going to be quite a significant amount of gold. So once again, And momentum shifts back into the hands of the boys in Raven. We're going to be looking at about 1,500 gold lead once it's finished calculating. And EXP is completely neutralized. Actually going to be going 2,000 to their hands. Looks like we're actually going to be seeing a 2,500 lead, never mind. So Freyheidt, still going to be stacking with the same items. Looks like we could be seeing potentially an Aghanim Scepter from him. But because he's constantly been playing Sentry Wards, you can forgive him for his lack of items. He's been doing a lot of heavy lifting in that strategic sense of shutting down Kumo. Kumo, once he gets that BKB, the BKB is actually not going to be that effective this game. I'm not too sure why they're choosing to commit for these BKBs. The only effective ability you're going to be blocking out is going to be the Chain Frost and the Static Storm. I suppose that could be enough reason to go for a BKB, but when you consider the fact that the Berserker's Call, the Stone Gaze, as well as the Sniper, all of his abilities will penetrate BKB with the exception of the Assassinate. Not really too sure how I feel about this. I suppose it does give you more team fight, but the issue of going for double BKB this early on is it puts your team on the clock. You're not going for a much more effective carry-based item that can help you deal with Restoration or Barker if the game goes late. And so Raven, they've got about 9 more minutes to try to take as many towers as possible to try to pressure high ground. But while that's happening, especially since they constantly keep grouping up like this, both teams, Anime Saikou should actually just be splitting up across the map, finding farm. They don't really have to go for these forced engagements. Askalicious, rare misplay coming through from him. Ukraine getting caught in a position here. While that's happening, Vitz comes in. Here comes the Finger of Death. Kumo being caught with the Static Storm. Here comes Celtic Offering. The Aghanim Scepter now going to be revealed. Stone Gaze is going to be popping. Kumo's going to turn himself to stone. Barker is going to find himself an easy kill against Shadowfiend with Vitz. Bashes down one, and meanwhile Barker also could be taking a death. One more cheeky right click. Looks like the Hoop Stomp's going to be enough. Ukraine with a double edge finds himself another kill. Sets up for Vitz. Freyheidt as well. Vitz should be able to smack him down. Axes the Kimbo able to find himself a few easy kills. And Restoration, trying to TPL. Vitz, can he get himself a first hit bash? Doesn't even need it. Just whacks him down for an ultra kill. Single-handedly turning that engagement around as Xperia showing off the Aghanim Scepter over the Warlock. This is the power of Warlock if you are able to find farm. Because Xperia has been tanky enough that he's been able to stay alive for the vast majority of these engagements, has received a lot of gold income just by being alive. So we're going to be seeing about a 1.7k gold lead going to the hands of Raven, as well as about 2,800 EXP lead. Vince is also going to take that Tier 2 tower. So we're going to be looking at about 3,000 gold lead going to be gained by the boys of Raven. So they're going to be stabilizing at about 5,000, 5,500 if you also factor in the fact that Vince is actually finding farm while everybody else is dead. Looks like he is choosing to go for the Ayascadi, so the Orb of Venom pickup early on. It's going to be translating into a much more effective core position. I don't know, Ring of Aquila actually picked up on Troll. A little bit unusual. Troll Warlord's a very effective Ring of Aquila carry, just because it ensures that you've always got mana to spam out your abilities, just because while you only have 3 main abilities, you can be using the Welling Axes, Range Form, Blinding Axes, and the Battletrons. You usually are going to be spamming those abilities out. So we do actually see a Blade Mail now picked up by Ukraine. Blade Mail's going to be doing a lot of work against this team, just because you know that Barker as the Dusa never goes for a BKB. If you see a Dusa go for a BKB, it's because it's a desperation item if she absolutely needs it against certain matchups. Otherwise, you just decide to spam stats. And so Blade Mail's actually going to be doing a lot of work against Dusa, because you're reflecting all of her uncontrolled AoE from Split Shot back at her. Barker her items actually haven't progressed at all, so actually very inefficient item choices coming out from Barker. That might actually cost them if the game decides to go late, because he's actually fallen behind as far as net worth's concerned. Vince is single-handedly keeping his team in the game with a great amount of teamfight potential, especially since Kumo. He hasn't had a successful Requiem the last 5 times. Every time he goes in for a Requiem, he gets blown to pieces. He gets caught by the Static Storm. Until he gets that BKB, he's going to be dead weight for his team. He does have it now. So Barker, that Maelstrom, that being said, when you're playing a Dusa, every item you purchase has to get yourself towards the late game. You can't afford to go for any dead items. Lincoln Sphere can be considered a bit of a dead item, just because it doesn't give you any immediate teamfight impact. You can justify it by saying it's a macro item that helps you farm. Maelstrom, exact same thing. It doesn't synergize with the Stone Gaze, it doesn't help you go late. It helps you farm, but you don't need another farming item. You've got Lincoln Sphere, you've got Split Shot. You've got all the farming ability you need. All you need now are items that actually have game impact. So Mad Style and Ayascadi, even deciding to go to straight damage with something like a Master Menace into an MKB would be a lot more effective. Now choose to go for the Skadi. That Skadi is going to be delayed by 2,600 gold. That actually does matter a significant amount, especially because your team can't afford to keep creating space for you. So Anime Saikou, they keep going to these engagements they can't win. If they go 5-on-5 against Raven, especially since Raven has purchased double BKB on their cores, they're going to lose a fight every single time. Vince is so ridiculously big at this point. He can basically run 1v5 with a little bit of help coming through from Xperia to set up with the upheaval to ensure they could go in. Kumo is basically just being a bullet catcher for Restorations. Restoration can reveal himself there. Ukraine might actually look to go for a turnaround play, as you do decide to go in for a bit of an envelop, a bit of a flanking maneuver. Fitz would actually like to see a blink dagger before he goes for Skadi, but that being said, since he's just been running in, they haven't done anything to stop Xperia, he might actually decide to drop the Celtic Offering there. Restoration reveals the smoke unfortunately breaks, he knows something's not quite right, throws out the shrapnel, now has vision on Xperia, goes in for a cheeky assassination. With Xperia, he's tanky enough, he's going to throw out the Shadow Word. Not going to be too fast. We're going to be seeing a refresher coming up from him. Kumo could actually get glimpsed back by Freyheidt. We do see the glimpse. Going to be taking a death as Escalicious comes in, forces out the initiation coming through from Ukraine. Celtic offering into Static Storm. Chain Frost going bouncing back and forth. Kumo, this is the Requiem he's been waiting for. Finds himself a double kill. Barker in the meanwhile finds himself one other throwing. Going to turn to stone. Unfortunately, that actually saved him. Here comes another Chain Frost. Able to Yule Scepter himself, but now Vids comes in, bash slowing down Baka. One more while killing might actually bash him down. There we go. Vids finds himself a triple kill in the meanwhile. And off the back of that, you're now going to be losing high ground unless he forces a buyback from Sniper and Baka. It's a fantastic team fight, going to be gained Xperia as well as Vids, able to turn things around. Otherthorn actually chose to go for a Yule Scepter instead of a 4-star for a Blink. Yule's actually is a very valuable item online, actually saved his bacon there, also does give you a bit more defensive capability. Vids with that Battle Trance is going to be losing that tier 3 target. He's seeing immediate buyback, no buyback actually being used by any of the lineup of Anime Saikou. That's a massive misplay. You can't afford to lose high ground, especially since you have the superior late game lineup. So unfortunately, Anime Saikou looks like they're going to be losing a set of racks for free. That's going to be throwing a massive amount of momentum into the hands of Raven. Raven might have actually won this off the back of that last engagement, because Anime Saikou, they have the superior late game draft. They actually had such a great start as far as Baka was concerned, just inefficient strategic decisions coming out from them, constantly deciding to group up and fight. This is actually a typical mistake you often see in lower level games, particularly the 3K to 4K bracket. You want to make sure that if you draft a late game lineup, you don't actually have to fight. You actually don't want to fight. That's the last thing you want to do. What you want to do instead is rely on your late game draft to pull you through. So as long as you don't sacrifice your tier 3 tower, your tier 1s and tier 2s, they're basically just there to give you space. You can afford to sacrifice them so long as you split push. So long as the rest of your team is spread out across the map finding farms. So if you've got 5 heroes farming, well, they've only got 1 or 2 because they're constantly grouping up as 5, you actually start to pull through. You can afford to give away these towers early on, so long as you don't give away your tier 3 tower. Once you lose high ground with a very greedy lineup, such as one that Anime Saikou have, since you've got the superior late game, the Deucer as well as the Sniper, you've actually lost any advantage you have to, and any kind of leverage you have to turn things around. Because without the high ground advantage, they can now decide to actually smoke rotate through here, and try to set up a kill by picking off the backline heroes, which is going to be Restoration. Restoration is always going to be the backline. Whereas if you've got that tier 3 tower up, they have to still go in. There's only one way they can actually approach this. Now that they've lost that tier 3 tower, it gives them the avenue to smoke rotate in, and they can now split push. They now have enough gold gained by taking that set of racks. They can afford to rest in their laurels and find farm. So Raven, they don't actually have that impetus of having to try close out the game. They've claimed high ground the first 32 minutes. So you've got a 35-minute window against a lineup with a Deucer or against a Sniper to try to breach high ground. If you're able to do that, you put your team in a very good position, so you can actually comfortably coast yourself into the late game just because Vids is so farmed and Baka still hasn't found any items. He's now decided to go for the Ayaskadi. Ayaskadi is a great item on Deucer because it makes you very tanky. Doesn't necessarily help you fight though, because you don't have a lot of sustained DPS. You've got great sustained DPS, but the rest of your team could be dead, so you need Skadi and then another item. Because he went for the Maelstrom, that's delaying that other item, also delaying the Skadi. Maelstrom did absolutely nothing in that engagement, especially since you've got double BKB coming through from Raven. So Baka, not going to be all that effective this game, especially since he's going to be carrying such a huge amount of weight for his team. We are going to be seeing what appears to be a BKB coming through from Restoration. Restoration as well. Positioning's been a little bit sloppy. He's been letting Vids close the distance against him. That's really the last thing he can do. Vids, usually a Troll Warlord, is forced to go for a Blink Dagger, and that actually might be Vids' next item. Blink Dagger would be highly effective against Restoration and Baka. Just being able to jump on top of Restoration, blinding access to Restoration can't do anything. Dash slowed him down, especially since you've got the Skadi to stick to him. Restoration's dead at the start of the fight, just going to be Baka as their only form of sustained DPS. You've got the double Chaotic Offering coming through from the Aghanim Scepter, almost quad Chaotic Offering. You also have the Requiem, none of them have BKBs. You can actually turn engagements just off the basis of your ultimates. So Raven have got the superior team fighting lineup until Deucer gets so big that she can pretty much pull through on her own. But unfortunately, Baka going to be very inefficient, constantly sticking around with the rest of the team. They really want to make sure that Baka's on her own, at least, and have a few supports lingering behind her. We are going to be seeing a smoke rotation, actually double smoke, as Freyheit as well as, I believe that was Don't Waste My Time, going to be popping both their smokes at the same time. Getting a little bit too excited there. I guess everyone's happy to smoke from time to time. Freyheit going to be leading the charge, actually should be Askalicious, just because he's going to be the one with the hard CC. Freyheit can't actually do anything on his own. He can be able to go for a Glimpse Blade, does actually set up against Arthur, but he's got 1600 range to Glimpse. Looks like he's able to find a kill against the enemy 5. Not going to be too happy with that, especially since they weren't able to catch out Kumo, they weren't able to catch out Vids. Vids is just going to cap Roshan, Roshan's up, Vids should be able to take himself in free Aegis. Battletron's going to be popped in the voice of Anime Saikou. Kumo, going to be a bit embarrassing for him, looks like he actually chose to go for the Blink Dagger. Vid's going to find himself a freebie, so now he's going to drop that, most likely the TP scroll, pick up the Aegis the Immortal. Xperia, he's just there to look pretty. And Vids, he reached the point of critical mass where he's so big they don't really have a way to deal with him. Actually, it looks like Kumo's going to be given the Aegis. So I suppose this makes more sense. Kumo's going to be a lot more fragile than Vids. Vids got 2.9k HP. He's ridiculously farmed. You could choose to go for a Satanic at this point and be damn nine killable. Looks like that's going to be the play. So Vids choosing not to save for buyback, just going straight in for that massive team fight because he's got such a massive net worth advantage. Troll Warlord's a hero that you need more net worth than the enemy carry if you want to take the game late. Vids has found that net worth. He's actually got 50% more net worth than Baka, so he's put himself in a very favorable position. Baka, all he needs now is about 1,000 more gold to finish the Ayaskadi, so he needs the Ultimate Orb as well as the Orb of Venom, but unfortunately Baka, that means he won't have buyback. At the moment, he'll just barely have buyback, but he's not doing anything in the fight. You can ignore Barker. Barker's doing absolutely as nothing in these engagements. He's just scratching Vids. Vids just laughs it off. He's saying, okay, you're going to split shot me, you're going to hit me with a little bit of lightning. That's cute. I'm going to smash the rest of your team down. I've got Battle Trance, I've got Welling Axes, I've got Skadi and Satanic. I'm actually tankier than you at this stage. Euclid as well. Actually, now gets picked up a casual Vanguard. I'm assuming he's going for the Crimson Guard. Yeah, we do see the Crimson Guard pickup coming up from Euclid. Crimson Guard actually quite a powerful pickup because it just neuters pretty much most of Barker's damage at this point. Also helps you deal with Restoration. Since Sniper, most of Sniper's damage comes from the fact that he's getting a lot of hits in. His right clicks individually don't actually do that much damage unless the headshot procs, and even then, compared to other heavy hitters such as the Drow Ranger, not going to be anyway comparable. Sniper's damn DPS comes through his time on target because you've got 950 range, because you've got such a great animation, and because you've got 2 ways to keep people in place. Actually 3 ways: SMY main, headshot main, as well as the shrapnel. And so if you're able to compensate for Sniper's high rate of fire by picking up something for Crimson Guard, it basically cuts away about a fifth of Sniper's damage, actually dramatically impedes his DPS output. So Kuma, in the meanwhile, going to be able to find himself some Ancients, going in for some cheeky raises. Didn't progress too much ever since he's purchased that Blink, although that being said, he's got 3.8k. Skadi is finally going to be purchased on Barker. He needed this about 10 minutes ago. His team really have been suffering because he doesn't have that Skadi. Deuce needs Skadi so he can actually stick to targets, so he can actually stay alive. He is actually quite tanky now, but the issue is the rest of his team falling apart at the seams. They actually have a response for Deuce, which is going to be the Troll Bash slowing him down. Speaking of which, Vids going to reveal himself to that tower, to the tier 2 Zone though. Barker's going to take a death though if he's not too careful. Going to be caught by everything. Finger of Death also coming through. Kuma runs in for a few cheeky right clicks, pops the BKDs from them. Means the Chain Frost going to do literally nothing. Don't waste my time. Gets bashed down by Vids. Chain Frost still bouncing, but Freyheart going to take another death. Looks like it's going to be an Aghanim Scepter over on the Lich. Never mind. Finally, you fallen off. Restoration. Turn around against Vids. As much damage as possible. Vids just pops the Satanic. Whacks a couple of creeps. A Restoration. This is the power of Sniper. This is the reason why it's so difficult to breach high ground. This is what Anime Saikou should have been doing a long time ago. Unfortunately, could be a case of too little too late. Blink dodge coming through from Ukraine, able to dodge that, so good play coming up from him. Gonna be sacrificing their tier 2 tower. No buyback available on Dusa. So Lich actually got an awful lot of bounces there. Unfortunately, with the BKDs being active, all the bounces basically did nothing. Other throwing still alive. Went in for the quick finger to try to DPS down Barker. So Barker, very ineffective play coming through from him. He actually showed himself, even though they had vision coming through from that Observer Ward. So a little bit unfortunate though, he pretty much just threw his life away. Vids would have actually revealed himself if he kept going. I suppose they just barely didn't have vision, but now they're going to be losing another set of racks. Don't have buyback over on Dusa. Dusa can't really do anything at this point, since Vids is so damn big. Still have the Aegis over on Kumo. Fort's going to be popped. Dusa will be up in a few more seconds, but Restoration going to be watching himself, since Ukraine can actually choose to come in from the side. Ukraine might actually catch him in a position. Restoration playing way too far forward. You can't actually linger around the sides like that, especially because you know they could come in. The Santok can be waiting in the wings. Ascalicious, a little bit unfortunate. He had such a great start. Unfortunately, now forced to go for a BKB of his own. Kuma, going to be popping, walking on the Shadow Darts. Shadow Blade being active. Looks like he's actually going to reveal himself. Could be taking death. Freyheart can actually glimpse him back in. Here comes the glimpse. Here comes Ascalicious with the Blink Berserker's Call. Kuma, going to be thrown, but he's got an Aegis. This could actually be bait coming through from him. Here comes Ukraine, maybe looking to set things up. Restoration, standing his ground for now. Actually planking back over at Ukraine to prevent that Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is available. Chaotic Offering comes through. Kuma stands his ground. Here comes another Static Storm. With the upheaval doing a lot of work. Chain Frost also bouncing back and forth from the Chaotic Offering Golems. Stone Gaze is going to be popped by him. Barker stands his ground against Ukraine. Ukraine gets blown apart by Ascalicious. Here comes Vids. Vids probably going to pop his BKB. It's going to be wearing off in a few more seconds. So Finger of Death comes through. Ascalicious could get bashed a little down by Vids. While that happens, Kuma blinks in, goes for the Requiem. Barker going to be eating a lot of damage. Looks like Suicide Requiem finds himself another kill. Barker's able to find himself one. Looks like he actually finds himself 2. Restoration might actually die to the Fatal Monster, but not too careful. Vids is so damn huge. They're throwing everything they have, and he finds himself another kill. Barker might also be taking a death there. Vids switch the range form. There we go, triple kill. And this should be a game set and match into the hands of Raven. Fantastic performance coming through from Vids. Over the Troll Warlord as well as Xperia to set things up. Very unfortunate that Barker, he actually cost his team the game by going for the Maelstrom, as well as the bad decisions coming out from Saikou. This is constantly fight against Raven. You've got a superior fighting lineup. Why do you fight into a lineup that has this advantage? Because you've got Chaotic Offering as well as Upheaval. Restoration might be able to find himself a freebie kill against Xperia. Xperia's been left for the dogs. Restoration, he actually decides to stop chasing. Xperia would have been dead there, could have just run him down. Xperia actually should be close towards his refresher of about 400 gold off. Roshan going to be respawning about 5 more minutes. They actually didn't take racks. So Raven actually throwing, getting a little bit overconfident there. That's actually going to be a massive win for the boys in Anime Saikou. Even though they pretty much got wiped with the exception of Restoration. So Restoration finally able to maneuver himself around that engagement. With that being said, Raven's still quite far ahead. If we have a look at the gold graph, going to be looking at about 14,000 gold lead going to the hands of Raven, as well as about a 16,000 EXP lead. Would have preferred that Vit stuck around and actually knocked down their objectives. Could have actually closed out seconds of their racks instead of deciding to YOLO dive throwing. But that being said, I suppose Raven wanted to make it interesting as far as items are concerned. Vids, Suppose the next item he could go for is either an MKB or a Blink Dagger. He just needs a way to jump on top of someone and stick to a target. He's got the Skadi already, so I suppose he doesn't necessarily need the Blink, especially since Restoration hasn't really been positioning himself all too well in these engagements. Ukraine's constantly going to catch him. Restoration now has that BKB, so it means that if Ukraine jumps him, because you've got that 0.5 second cast point for Hoof Stomp, if you're quick enough, you should be able to pop BKB in time. Just run away, pop the Mask of Madness after the BKB, run out, turn around, start plunking down Ukraine. Ukraine will be interesting to see what he chooses to go for next. That Casual Cloak, no real need for it now at this point. I suppose because you picked it up, you might decide to go for a Pipe. Pipe actually wouldn't do that much. I suppose it would absorb the Chain Frost at least, but you've already got BKBs. Fresh Roll purchase on Xperia. Looks like Kumo's going to be the one carrying the Assault Cross, actually called out by Escalicious. Escalicious goes in for a great Berserk score, constantly catching up the Shadow Fiend. Kumo pops the Shadow Blade as well as the Mask of the BKB. When you wasted that BKB charge, he is able to keep himself alive for now, so they do get a slight return from that at least. Freyheart could be a Blink Dagger, Force Staff coming out from him. Also could be Yules, who does have that flexibility. And Barker, ever since the Iron Guardian, no items coming out from him. Barker really has to just go for pure damage at this point, so we can actually effectively man-fight against Vids. If he goes for stat items, Troll's going to win every single time. Troll just bash you down, wait out your first Stone Gaze, and then turn around and keep chasing you down. So it looks like we actually are going to be seeing a Butterfly pickup coming through from him. Butterfly is going to be, would have actually been a great item had he chosen not to go for the Maelstrom, because he actually would have been very close to finishing at this point, because he isn't anywhere near completion of that Butterfly. We are going to be expecting Vids with a very quick MKB coming out from him. MKB works very nicely with Troll. The bash blocks, they don't stack, but they do increase your likelihood of mini bashing, so it means that people can't TP out from you. And you can actually almost chain dash someone. You've got the mini stun coming through from that, as well as a regular bash Ukraine, as well as Vids. They might actually be able to bring down Barker. Barker's still caught in place for now. Stone Gaze has to come through to try to keep himself alive. Here comes Stone Gaze. Vids just going ham, doesn't really give a damn. Gonna be turned to stone. Chain Frost bouncing back and forth. Restoration finds himself one. Escalation finds himself another. Xperia throws out the second Celtic Offering. Celtic Offering Golem's gonna be taking a death though. Absolute mask coming through from both teams. Here comes Kumo with the Blink Requiem. Finds himself two off the back of that. Restoration pops the BKB, stands the ground. Barker gonna be taking a death. A few more cheeky right clicks. Never mind. Kumo not able to find it. Kumo is able to bring down. Looks like Vids actually brought down that sniper. So the Fatal Bonds is gonna be enough. Kumo coming in for this. Unfortunately gonna whiff. Looks like the Suicide Requiem not be enough. As Restoration brought back to save Barker. And Barker, that Talisman of Evasion doing such a huge amount of work. But while that's happening, Vids says say goodbye to your tier 3. He's able to find himself one over in the mid lane. Top lane's under a lot of pressure and Restoration. Now deciding to go for pure damage. So he realizes that the name of the game is just the DPS down the Troll. Vids, because he doesn't have a gap closing item such as a Blink Dagger, he has to run at you. When he's running at you, you can slow him down. Especially since you've got Ascalicious as the counter initiator. So Ascalicious pretty much has to catch Troll every single fight, just to make sure that Vids isn't tearing apart everybody else. But Xperia, with that Fatal Bonds and the double Celtic Offering, would have liked him to Celtic Offering a little bit earlier, but still, that Fatal Bonds into the Requiem from Kumo did such a massive amount of work. So Anime Saikou, able to barely keep himself alive. That's actually a very favorable trade for them, even though they're forced to buy back. Because as far as gold's concerned, they've actually stabilized. They're going to be a slight lead, still about 16,000 experience, going to be capping at about 15,000 into their hands. They still have held on to the other set of racks. So Raven going to be kicking himself for that throw coming through from them earlier. Could have actually had two sets of racks for very little return coming through from the boys in Anime Saikou. Unfortunately, decided to just YOLO with the throne. So Vids is going to wait until they get another Aegis. Probably going to be giving it over to Kumo since Vids, he actually hasn't died in the last 30 minutes. So he's only got 3 deaths to his name. He's been doing such a lot of heavy lifting for his team. He definitely wants to go for an MKB or something along those lines against the Deucer, since Deucer's also choosing to go for the Butterfly. Looks like Vids is choosing to go for a Butterfly of his own. The weakness of this, as opposed to strength, is it means that it's going to be very difficult for Barker to deal with him. Deucer can partially compensate for a Butterfly by attacking somebody else with Split Shot active. The Split Shots can't be evaded, and so that is a way to effectively deal with Troll Warlord's evasion. That being said, the reason why you usually don't see Butterfly on Troll is Troll's great at man-fighting. Butterfly's a man-fighting item because it gives you the evasion. Troll already has Blind, he already has Bash, he doesn't need another man-fighting item, he needs a damage item. And so you'd be much better off going for the MKB because it prevents Deucer from going for an Butterfly of her own. And so that basically limits her item choices. And you know Deucer is almost always going to go for a Butterfly unless there's an MKB picked up. So Butterfly pickup from Vids, I'm not really a big fan of it because he doesn't necessarily need it. He doesn't need the additional stats it provides you, he doesn't need the attack speed or the damage, he already has plenty of that. Butterfly is usually picked up on carry heroes such as Deucer that need an item to help them man-fight more effectively, since Deucer pretty much plays war by attrition and just grinds you down with a superior EHP. Vids, he's actually tankier than Deucer, so he shouldn't be afraid of going for these long, drawn-out engagements against Deucer. What he needs is a way to quickly deal with her and prevent her from picking up an item that prolongs Deucer's fighability. So if Barker's actually able to finish that Butterfly in the next 3 or 4 minutes, actually can give them a little bit of window. Ascalicious, maybe look to set up a kill against other throwing, living up to his name. He gets dunked down. Ukraine going to cancel his hoof stomp. He's constantly eating a lot of right clicks coming through from Restoration. Here comes Don't Waste My Time going in for the The Chain Frost, unfortunately, Chain Frost not going to be all that effective. Should ensure the kill against Ukraine though. Dunk comes through from Askalicious, and this is the power of Axe turning around engagements that you otherwise, or games that you've otherwise lost, because you've got that execution power. Once you're below 550 with the Aghanim Scepter, you're dead. Doesn't matter how farmed you are, doesn't matter if you've got Brave or a BKB. They now know there's an Observer Ward placed there, so that's the only reason why Arthur Throwing would have positioned himself so awkwardly for that engagement. So they do find themselves 2 freebies. So Anime Saikou, they aren't out of this yet. They still do have one of the hardest carries in the game, especially since the ineffective item choice of Vid's choosing to go for the butterfly. He doesn't really need it. He's already got Satanic. Satanic's all the survivability on top of Skadi that you need. You really need a damage item, because now you're actually 6-slotted. So this is the awkward scenario coming through from Vid. So he's actually decided to just drop his BKB for now. We are going to be seeing potentially another item coming through from him. Looks like he's actually going to drop his BKB in exchange for the Aegis. Not really too sure I agree with this. The BKB is actually a very valuable item for Vids. Because I suppose he doesn't necessarily need it at this point, so the Chain Frost not going to hurt him. He doesn't actually need it for the Static Storm. So Vids, I suppose it does make sense. He doesn't necessarily need these spell immunity. Since he's tanky enough, he can tank pretty much the entire Chain Frost on his own. So he's going to be picking up the cheese. Kumo picks up the Aegis model. Looks like they should be barreling down the mid lane to try to close out this game, Xperia. Axe actually punches the mech in the meanwhile, so Warlock's actually getting pretty damn farmed. All things considered, he's actually got more farm than Ukraine just because he's been keeping himself alive in these engagements. Kumo, he's just going to be an Aurabot at this point. He's taken so many deaths because precisely of Askalicious that the Shadow Fiend pick up, even though he pretty much had a free lane against Restoration. This is the power of the Sniper, even though you completely lose your lane because you've got such a great turtle capability coming through from the Shrapnel as well as your superior range, and the great turnaround potential, the Assassinate. Sniper's able to drag out the game. Later the game goes, the more favored Sniper. Shadow Fiend kind of peaks within the first 35 minutes just because you're able to get 6-slotted so quickly. Kumo, unfortunately, he wasted a lot of his momentum by constantly being picked off with the Shadow Blade. Even though he found it so early on, it's just great recognition coming through from Freyheart, constantly dropping his sentries. Even now, he's already got sentries placed in preparation. Would actually like to see an Observer Ward placed here on high ground, just to give him vision to see if anyone tries to slip around. Freyheart, just a desperation bracer, really wants that 4-staff to keep himself alive against Vince. 4-staff is being picked up, I don't waste my time. Could also decide to go for something like a Yule Scepter, or looks like he's actually choosing to go potentially for a BKB or an Aghanim Scepter. Most likely Ag, starting with the Ogre Club. Would have probably preferred something like even a Ghost Scepter or a Yule Scepter to make sure that if Vids jumps you, you don't instantly die. Askalicious does have the Aghanim Scepter, very valuable pickup on Axe, although the issue of Axe is it's not really an item you want to go for if you're playing from behind. It's an item you want to play if you're dead even or if you're ahead to help you close out the game earlier. Because Vids is now 6-slotted, he's actually put his team in an awkward position. Because the only item he can conceivably buy at this point is going to be Boots of Travels. I suppose he could also, since he's dropped his BKB, look to go for an MKB next, but it's a very inefficient item order. So the Butterfly on Troll Warlord is usually an item you don't want to go for. The MKB pretty much does a lot more for the amount of gold you invest, especially since you already are a man-fighting hero. You don't need another item that helps you man-fight with the Skadi and the Satanic. It's a little bit overkill, especially because you know you're dealing with the Deucer that will be going towards the Butterfly. Barca has actually finished the Butterfly, so that actually puts Barca ahead. Deucer v Troll, Deucer with the evasion and the mana shield is going to be doing a lot more DPS potential than Vids. It actually has a higher chance of surviving now if you're evading a third of Troll's hits, just because Troll has such a low potential to actually bash. Barca with that Butterfly can actually turn these engagements around. Barca can now actually afford to man-fight against Vids. Vids still has a ridiculous amount of net worth advantage compared to Barca, but Barca can actually hold his own now. He's not going to get torn to pieces every single time. He's left 1v1 against Vids. And so they're going to be waiting for Vids to split push the bottom lane, and it looks like they're going to be waiting for an item for Art of Throwing. He has actually finished the Blink Dagger, so the Blink's going to be very valuable. He has picked up Observer Wards, so he wants to try and place an Observer Ward on high ground, especially because they're aware that... So we're going to be seeing a glimpse through from Ukraine. Maybe a potential engagement from Askalicious, but then again, you don't want to fight outside your base. Things are grim enough as is. So Askalicious going to be constantly wandering around. Has finished that BKB, he also has the Aghanim Scepter now available. Kumo, there we go. He's listening to the voice of reason. He went for the MKB, realizing that Barca... The Deuce's next logical item choice is going to be the Butterfly in most scenarios, unless there's already an MKB placed. Observer will be placed on the high ground. Unfortunately, they already have vision in this kind of region. Kumo, going to be throwing once again. Does have the Aegis Model, so I suppose Trap's going to be the play coming through from him. Askalicious tries to run in. Ukraine pops the Blade Mail, going to try to prioritize down Kumo. He's got the Aegis to other throwing. Yule Scepters himself to keep himself alive for now. Ukraine's going to be dunked down by Askalicious, able to find the kill against other throwing as well. And Kumo, they're running at him, but while it's happening, Vids in the meanwhile running down once, able to find himself a kill against Freyheart. Kumo goes in for the Requiem. Requiem's not going to be enough though, as Askalicious gets dunked down. Vids staying in range form, might be able to find himself a kill against one. Askalicious going to be the sacrificial lamb, unfortunately. Unless he's able to cut himself away for a little bit longer. Pops that Berserker's Call while it's happening. Restoration. Love the recognition from him. He says that Vids, he's not going to get there in time. Might as well stand your ground as much damage as possible. Vids finds himself a double kill. Looks like they're able to just take the range Rex, but they're able to hold on to their melee Rex for now. Xperia, taken out by Barca. So Barca with the Butterfly doing a huge amount of work. That's the reason why he was able to stand his own against Kumo. Also, it meant that he could have stood his own ground against Vids as the Troll Warlord, just because you've got that evasion to compensate for the superior attack speed as well as the potential bash lording coming out from him. So Vids, still capped out, hasn't actually popped his cheese, might actually give his cheese over to Kumo, since they're just ignoring the Troll. He's so damn buff at this point that he doesn't really have to focus on survivability, he just needs aggressive items. So if he does catch somebody on their lonesome, he can actually kill them, instead of just slowly whittling them down. Baka, good recognition coming out from him, realizes I have to go for an MKB first. Ideally, in this kind of scenario, because it's desperation gaming, you would like to see something like a Divine Rapier, but because there's a Butterfly already picked up on Troll, it does prevent him from going for the Divine. So Vids, now going for the Blink Dagger. Blink's going to be a fantastic item on him. Should also look to sell his phase boots for the Boots of Speed, or the Boots of Travel, just so he doesn't have, he's not going to get caught out by some Raptor players coming out from the boys in Anime Saikou. Although at this point, Anime Saikou are forced to just pretty much group together, try to hold on to their other 2 racks as long as possible, or 2 sets of racks. So Vince is officially capped out. There's no more items you can buy. I suppose you could potentially, theoretically, sell his Sergeant Yasha if you really want to, but Sergeant is the SMY is a very valuable pickup on Vince, because it gives you another very cost-effective item that helps you chase, and that's what Troll tends to suffer, because he's got such a ridiculous amount of movement speed coming through the Boots of Speed, the Boots of Travels, as well as Berserker Rage and SMY. He's actually got pretty much perma haste. So with that Blink Dagger, you're not getting away from the Troll Warlord. Vince is mobile enough, he should be able to run you all down. So Vince is going to be doing a huge amount of work in these engagements. He doesn't even need a BKB, the Berserker's Call will catch him every single time regardless. So Askalicious, he's the only thing that can really lock Vince in place long enough for them to deal with the rest of his team. You don't have enough damage to kill Troll, so you can lock him in place with Berserker's Call. I suppose in this scenario, if they're able to catch out Vince immediately blinks himself out, he could potentially turn things around. Restoration has actually finished an MKB, so good recognition itemization coming out from Anime Saikou. Dusu with the Butterfly of her own, she's actually going to be receiving a lot, she can actually just man fight against Vid, so once Baka finishes her own MKB, it actually favors the Dusa, even though Dusa's behind in terms of net worth, because Troll's actually capped out. Dusa still has a few more item slots to go. The Maelstrom pickup, this is what I mean by it being very ineffective, it actually has done absolutely nothing this game. It helps you farm slightly faster, but because you already have Split Shot, because you already have the Mystic Snake Spam coming through with the Linked Sphere, it's basically wasting an item slot. And every time you're playing a Dusa, you have to get yourself towards the ultra late game, because that's usually how games go. You want the game to go late, because that's when it favors you. So by building an item that helps you in the early and mid stages of the game, but doesn't help you in the late game, Maelstrom's going to be a very dead item. The only thing you can upgrade to is a Molnir. And Molnir, I suppose, it's not too bad. You can give yourself Static Storm debuff. But compare that to a Divine Rapier, an MKB, and Butterfly items that you usually want to prioritize in the Dusa, or even a Daedalus, doesn't really stack up as far as DPS output. Usually I'm a very big fan of Molnir, but if on an ultra late game hero like Dusa, it doesn't really give you enough value for the amount of gold as well as the item slot that you expend. On other range core heroes such as the Mirana, Molnir is actually a very effective pickup just because Mirana relies on getting a lot of hits in these engagements since she's very slippery, and so it actually gives you a lot of AoE DPS. I suppose the justification is because you've got an axe, you can Static Storm the axe, but Static Storm's going to be cute in these engagements, it's not going to help you kill Vids, and every single item you purchase at this point has to help you deal with the big bad Troll, because he can basically go 1v5 at this point. Kumo's just there to look pretty, draw some fires. Escalation can actually look to go for a Blink Berserker's Call, decide not to go for it. Here comes the Glimpse, BKB's actually going to be forced. It's actually a great play coming through from Freyheim. They've actually put Raven on the back foot as a result, because they're not going to have BKB for this next engagement. I suppose BKB is not that important anyway, but still being able to at least mitigate the damage coming through from the Chain Frost. So Baka, this is why Dusa and Sniper are so great at holding onto high ground. Dusa just instantly evaporates Creep Wave Restoration, hangs back, able to deal with everything, throws on Shrapnel to prevent creeps from even breaching high ground in the first place, or if you commit, you're committing into Shrapnel. So Restoration getting bigger and bigger. He has actually found a little bit of recovery, even though he had such an awful start. A little bit unfortunate since Kumo. He was pretty much destroying him as far as the lane stage is concerned. Restoration pretty much only turned the game around because of the mistakes coming through from Raven. Whereas Kumo, he pretty much slipped up by choosing to go for the Shadowblade route. Would have actually preferred to see the Yield Scepter Blink Dagger item build coming up from him. Or even just go for conventional, just carry items. Go for the RTC build, just pick up the Hand of Midas and say, alright, fuck it, you want to go late, let's go late. We'll start gearing yourself towards getting 6 slots as quickly as possible. So it's an item such as an early Daedalus or an early Desolator on the Shadow Fiend, absolutely devastating just because you have so much damage already built in from the Necromastery. So it looks like we are going to be sitting ourselves in for the long haul as Raven. Going to be taking that time. Roshan is up. Unfortunately, Vince is slotted. He's completely capped out. I suppose you could drop the SNY for the Aegis, but the SNY is actually very valuable to chase potential. So it means that Anime Saikou, if they ever are able to push out their lanes, they can look to go for a Roshan attempt themselves. They can still turn the game around, just because they've got such a great high ground potential. Had they not lost their bottom to the Rex, this actually would be Anime Saikou's game to lose at this point. Because Barker's put himself in a big enough position that he can actually go blow for blow against Vids and come out on top. Now that he has the MKB, Barker actually should be the man fight against Vids. Vids has actually put himself in a dramatic disadvantage by choosing to go for the Butterfly. The Butterfly has actually done nothing from this game. So very similar to the Maelstrom purchase. Stampede going to be forced as a result of the Glimpse.
Ukraine, can we take a death himself to careful? Pop that blade mail though. If never mind, hasn't popped it yet. Can we just turns around the double edge? Now pops the blade mail. Gonna be caught by Escalation. It goes in for a great 2-man berserker skill. They have to bring down Xperia. Xperia's gonna be in target of priority. Stone Gate is gonna be wasted completely from Baka. Looks like Ukraine might take a death there from the Cunning Blade coming through from Escalicious. But while that's happening, Vids, he's going high ground. Ukraine, gonna try and buy some time. Space Creator's gonna be the call coming through from Under Throwing, goes in for a finger, not gonna be doing enough though. Vids is able to take himself a tier 3 tower. Kumo, not too sure what he's doing behind enemy lines. Escalicious actually stands ground with Berserker's Call. Baka found himself a triple kill, also farming up the illusions, as well as the Chaotic Offerings. Vids, and trying to manfight against Baka, but Baka should actually be able to beat Vids. Vids is actually making a massive mistake here. Vids is dead. Baka's got this game. He's not gonna have enough DPS potential to bring down Baka. This is the power of the butterfly, because you don't have the MKB. So Vids, purely off the basis of not going for that butterfly, he might have actually just thrown the game for his team. Baka, buyback is available on all 3 cores in lineup of Raven, but Baka just found himself a rampage. He's got 8k gold, he can now afford to sell his Maelstrom, and actually at this point, just purchase the Divine Rapier. That's actually going to be the best item you can go for as Baka. Sell the Phase Woods, pick up a Boots of Travels, sell Maelstrom, go for Divine. Once you get that Divine, you've actually won the game. They don't have enough DPS potential to kill you. Vids can't deal with you because he's inefficiently gone for the Butterfly, instead of purchasing the MKB. You really have to just go for an all-in Hail Mary push. At this point, you're so far behind that they could actually afford to rat push, to split push and rat. So Anime Saikou, they've actually put themselves back in the driver's seat. They've completely neutralized the EXP lead, so 5,000 EXP going to the hands of Anime Saikou, about 11,000, about 12,000, well, at least capping about 9,000 once he takes that tower. Gold lead going to the hands of Raven, actually not going to be that big of a deal, just because Vids is 6 slotted. And Vids, because he went for that butterfly, that's actually going to cost him the game at this point. His Baka is so big, and he can afford to sell his Maelstrom, sell the Maelstrom for the love of God, purchase the Divine Rapier, and just decide to just push. Are we going to see a Rapier? Ooh, Baka. Don't tease me like this. There we go. So Baka's now reached the point of critical mass. He's 6 slotted, he's big enough he could go 1v5, and they don't have a response from Vids because he went for butterfly instead of MKB. The fact that he'll be missing his bash hits due to the 35% invasion on Baka, as well as the Mana Shield and the Stone Gaze, he can't afford to turn around during the Stone Gaze, because Baka actually has enough damage to kill Vids. So it means that Vids is screwed. He doesn't have a BKB. So the BKB, even if he did go for it, would still be interrupted. The Stone Gaze penetrates it. Doesn't have a way to bash slow down Baka. He got 1-2 bashes in, but because of the evasion constantly coming through from the butterfly, Baka just stands his ground and laughs in his face. So Escalicious, his sole job is pretty much just to jump Xperia. If they could jump Xperia and try to prevent him from throwing out this Chaotic Offerings, it actually puts him in a very good spot. But Baka can pretty much just go 1v5. So this is the power of Deuce in the ultra late game. This is why you don't want to go for the Maelstrom. You want to go for very efficient items. There we go. We finally see the MKB being purchased over from Vids. He sold his SNY in order to do so. So Vids is now playing from behind. Might not be enough though, just because you've got the Divine Rapier, so that if he pops that Stone Gaze, you turn around so you don't get turned to stone. He should be the kill you within that duration, will drop you low enough that you can't man fight against him. If you decide to stick around and commit for a kill and you get turned to stone, you're still dead. It's going to be a lose-lose scenario. Actually, I would prefer to give the Aegis over the Vids, but Vids I suppose doesn't even have an item slot. Krimo, items haven't progressed since that MKB purchase, would like to see him go for something like a Daedalus or something like a Desolator, so he can amplify the damage output of his teammates. I suppose a Daedalus at this point would be a lot more effective for just pure single target TPS. Anime Saikou put himself back in the game off the misplays coming through at the strategic level from both teams. It's going to be a game of throws coming through as both teams actually making a lot of quite critical mistakes. It actually has cost him a lot of momentum. Had Vids decided to go for the MKB into the Butterfly, they wouldn't have had a way to respond to this. Baka would have been dead every single engagement. His Butterfly would be completely worthless. And so that meant that Vids could actually do something against Deucer. So there's actually a common mistake coming through from a lot of players. And the amateur scene is itemization is going to be everything. I suppose you can't forgive. You can forgive someone for making a tactical mistake, such as missing a skill shot. You can't really forgive someone for going for an ineffective item, because that's something that you should have the awareness. You've got plenty of time to make an item choice, as opposed to a split-second decision of making a decision in the heat of the moment. So really can't afford to go for ineffective items, especially as a core position player, since he's going to be that one position from Vid. So even though he had such a great early game start, he's pretty much just thrown the last 60 minutes worth of gameplay by going for that butterfly item, because it didn't give him the ability to close out the game, because they chose to dive fountain instead of taking out the mid-ranks. All these little mistakes build up, though this is pretty much a game of small advantages. Often in a really close game, the team that wins is the team that makes the least mistakes, both on the tactical level, such as deciding not to throw by going to the fountain, or choosing to take down the racks instead of just messing around trying to fountain farm, as well as item choices and even lame decisions or skill builds. They also have dire ramifications, so this game really is kind of illustrating that point. That being said, Baka, despite the ineffective Maelstrom pickup, he has been doing a lot to try to pull his team back in the game. On the throwing, going to be taking a death there. Baka's going to be beefing up. He can pretty much take out everybody. Vids has to immediately jump on top of Baka. He can't afford to take a death there. He has to do everything he can to stay alive. Still has Stone Gaze, pops out Stone Gaze, able to find himself one Ukraine. Also going to be taking a death while it's happening. Vids actually just messing around. They need Vids to bring down Baka. Vids is the only chance they have of doing this, but Baka finds himself another kill. Ukraine going to be taking a death. Here comes a dunk. Also going to farm the kill. Offering Vids doesn't even take the Rex while this is happening. Kumo as well just casually dies to Restoration. Raven really are going to be living up to Arthur Throwing's name. As this was their game to lose, they put themselves in such a good position since Anime Saikou made such bad strategic decisions in the early stages of the game. Baka knows going to barrel down through the mid lane. Vids, they're relying on Rat Dodo. But Baka, he's got a boots travels. He can afford to BOT back to deal. Vids, he's actually going to be the only one that should be BOT back. Anybody else that BOTs back will be taking death. Vids, is going to go YOLO in for the throne. Should be able to take the range rack, although we do see a rotation coming through. Freyheart as well as Don't Waste My Time, they're actually both going to be taking death. Vids can actually stand his ground and kill both of them. Here comes a Glimpse, going to stand his ground. Don't Waste My Time is dead. Vids not too sure why he popped that Boots of Speed there. Boots of Travel stack could have actually stood his ground, killed them both, and then decided to BOT out. Looks like he should be fine, but while it's happening, Baka going to be knocking down that tier 3 tower. Do see a buyback coming out from Ukraine as well as Kuma. So they wait for as long as possible. Baka, he could just kill them, he doesn't really give a damn. The only hero he's worried about is going to be the Troll. That's if Troll's able to bash Lord down Baka. Ukraine goes in for a great 2-man hoofstomp. Unfortunately, there's no follow through. Kuma might be able to bring down Escalations, he can't bring down Baka. TP once again. Actually from Restoration when he cancels. Baka decides to TP out. Baka cancels his TP saying, alright, screw this, is there. The throwing goes in, wastes the Hex, it looks like. No, it's a Mana Drain. Baka can actually be taking a death. They can't afford to lose that Divine Rapier. Baka going to be taking that death as Vids was finally able to lock him down. Rapier going to be picked up by Kumo. Looks like we are going to be seeing the game of Throw. It's Anime Saikou. Able to turn, going to be taking put on the back foot. They do have buyback on Dusa, but Dusa without Divine Rapier compared to Shadow Fiend that does have one, could actually be the advantage game. That being said, Raven, if they're able to go for another team wipe, their cores don't have buyback. Anime Saikou still have buyback on the Dusa. They don't have buyback over on Axe, unfortunately. Escalation to choose to go for the Heaven's Halberd. Great item choice coming out from him. No BKB being purchased on the Troll. He can't afford to waste a slot on it. Kuma, he still goes BKB, but it's down to the 5-second mark. So this should be going into the hands of Raven to put themselves in a good position unless they throw once again. Baka, forced to buy back. They have to try to hold onto their racks for as long as possible. Vids, he's pretty much the only one that can reliably deal with Dusa just because of the chain stun coming through from him. Still go straight for the objectives this time. Not going to be screwing around. Kuma, doing a massive amount of work, just right-clicking down Freyheart. Freyheart pops that Ghost Head to keep himself alive for now. Out of throwing, he's going to reel himself for a little bit too long. Here comes a Yule Stepper from him. Going to be losing this in the racks, and there's going to be Mega Creeps coming out from the boys. And Raven just smacked the racks for the love of God. Somebody, there we go. Chain Frost flies through, out of throwing. Keep himself alive for now. Looks he's pops his own Ghost After. Here comes the Finger Death over Restoration. Restoration being doing some lifting in the background. Fortunately, it's not going to be doing enough damage. Ukraine, just buying space. It's now Mega Creeps. Going to be eating a massive amount of damage. He has popped that Blade Mail. Blade Mail's doing a hell of a lot. Don't waste my time. Almost killing himself as a result of that Blade Mail. Just making sure he can't get that blink off. Here comes a long range glimpse coming through, but unfortunately, Arthur Throwing's able to blink out in time. And now it looks like Anime Saikou, they're going to be playing Endfos and no longer playing Dota 2, as the Mega Creep's going to make it very difficult for them to push out. They pretty much just have to go for a Hail Mary push through the mid lane. Fortification is up for the Dire side, never mind. No fortification, no buyback. So neither team can really afford to give away any kind of advantage. Baka, he really has to just save and go for another Divine Rapier. You're not going to have enough time to save for another buyback, especially since you've got about 7-minute cooldown. They're not going to give you that long, although I suppose they can if they really want to. Raven don't necessarily have to push, they could even just decide to just sit back, make themselves a cup of tea, wait until Anime Saikou get bored, but Anime Saikou, they still can turn the game around. This really goes to show you how powerful Dusa is as an ultra late game carry. Mega Creeps, they're just scratching Baka. So Baka can clear them pretty much on their own, meets that her Divine Rapier of her own, so she can compete with Kumo. Kumo's Shadow Fiend, the only nice thing, I suppose the best case scenario for the boys and Anime Saikou is Kumo's actually quite a fragile target. If Escalations catch them with the Blink Berserker's Call, it still can turn it around and kill Kumo, especially since he can disarm him when he gets him with the Berserker's Call, since he's not going to be able to pop his BKB. Vids, now with that MKB purchase that did so much work in that last engagement and enabled him to chain stun and lock and deal with Baka since you didn't have to worry about that 35% evasion. So it's the reason why Butterfly is purchased to force the enemy carry to go for an MKB. So often it often comes down to a case of checking the items on the enemy carry before you make your item choice. Or if you're ahead, you purchase a Butterfly. So that way they have to farm 5.4k gold before they can deal with you. So Butterfly is a great item if you're ahead, or if you want to try and cap out the enemy carrier's items. So it can be one of those ways to effectively deal with them. So if you see they're not going to go for an MKB anytime soon, you quickly purchase the Butterfly, they're now screwed. It's the reason why carry players, or competitive players in general, tend to hold on to their gold. It's a very rock, paper, scissors style lineup. Butterfly beats pretty much every other carry item if it comes to a man fight, apart from MKB. MKB wrecks the Butterfly. So Baka, getting closer towards the Divine Rapier of her own. Looks like Courier going to be flying around. Actually, I believe she should have enough gold to finish it. There we go, Divine Rapier is going to be purchased. If that Divine Rapier in the neighborhood, all the Mega Creeps could be seeing a Courier snipe. Vids, Doesn't get vision in the courier. Looks like Divine Rapier is going to be purchased by Barker. They still are in this game. Deuce with the Divine Rapier beats every other hero in the game with a Divine Rapier, with maybe the exception of Jaro, but even then, Deuce is tankier than the Gyrocopter. Jaro is a very fragile hero. That's why he needs to spend so much gold mitigating his weaknesses. Deuce, probably the single best Divine Rapier carry in the game. You hit all 5 heroes in team fight without splitting your DPS because you've got split shot. You're tanky enough that if they jump you, they have to throw everything they have to kill you. And so that buys time for Escalicious to counter initiate. That being said, Raven don't even have to fight them. They can just draw enemy Saikou into a fight and let the Mega Creeps deal with the Thorn. Restoration, his items haven't really progressed in a while. Ever since he's purchased that Chrysalis, he did, I suppose, go for the Boots of Travels to make sure they didn't die to Rat Dodo. So looks like Barker still keeping his team in the game, just off the virtue of how ridiculous Deucer is as the game goes late. Kumo, just doing his thing as far as the Divine Rapier is concerned, just split pushing over the bottom lane. We are going to be seeing Vids applying pressure from the top lane. He's capped down items. He's just farming for the sake of farming at this point. He might as well just buy wards for his team. Actually, no Observer wards placed by the Dire side. We'd actually like to see him drop wards. I suppose they don't even need it at this point, because you know the enemy team's going to be stuck inside their own base. The Locust Gold being landed over on Kumo. If Kumo takes a death, this is going to be huge. Restoration gets to the Divine Rapier, who puts him in great advantage. Escalicious wants to go for that Rapier. No one's able to snatch it yet. Ukraine eating a huge amount of damage. Tries to pick up the Divine Rapier. Not able to get it. Looks like Escalicious wasn't able to find it either. Where the hell is the Divine Rapier? There we go. Restoration. Going to be dropping his items to find that. Also, Vid's trying to be cute. Now going to get Glimpse back. Glimpse back. Caught into the Yule Scepter for now. Barker stands ground. Vid's going to be taking a death there. No way can man fight against them. Restoration has Divine Rapier. This actually could be game. The boys in anime Saikou. You've got Rapier on 2 of the heroes of the great time on target. You've got Barker, Producer, who hits literally everybody, and Sniper, the hero of the most range. That means Restoration can actually hang back and deal with the Mega Creeps, while Barker just pushes. You want Barker to push as opposed to Restoration, because Barker's a hell of a lot tankier. I suppose you could also do it the other way around, but the drawback is Sniper, since he's such a fragile hero, especially since he's the Divine Repair carrier, you gotta be very cautious. So if we have a look at the gold graph, off the back of that Aegis throw, gonna be spiking all over the place. We're gonna be looking at about a 15,000 gold lead once it's stabilized, since you also have to factor the 5k net worth you lose from the Divine Repair. It might even be 10,000. Once it's done, yeah, gonna be looking at about 10,000. As far as the experience is concerned, doesn't matter at this point. Almost everybody's level 25. Gonna be seeing a BOT coming through from Restoration. So Restoration, gonna be seeing a Hail Mary push through coming through. As Barker also BOTs it. So it's a Hail Mary, they're doing everything they have to defend this. Vids, he can't do it on his own. He doesn't have the Divine Rapier, so if he jumps on, say he jumps on Barker, Restoration kills him. He jumps on Restoration, Barker kills him. Xperia tries to go in for the double Calic Offering. Fortunately, that Static Storm didn't work, and Escalicious doesn't even need to dunk him. Looks like it's going to be game 1 won by Anime Saikou, as Raven, game of throws coming up from them. Other throwing, really going to be the motto for his team. Runs into the Ghost Step trying to catch out Barker. Fortunately, their house is on fire. While that's happening, never mind Vids. We're going to be seeing a base race. As Vids might be able to push this down on his own, he still has a fortification on his team. Going to be close for both teams. Vids might be able to knock it down in time. Yule Scepter going to be the play coming through from them. They have to throw everything they have to try to bring it down. Looks like then it's going to be the Radiant Sides that come out with the win. Vids making it a bit of a nail-biting finish, but after an absolute slugfest from both teams, 68 minutes in, Anime Saikou and Raven, Anime Saikou finally able to pull out the win. This is a game that should have been heavily favoured towards them from the 35-minute mark onwards because of what's superior late-game lineup. Unfortunately, misplays coming through on the macro and micro level from both teams, pretty much ensuring that Anime Saikou were eventually able to pull through. Very unfortunate, since Raven put themselves in such a good position. So this is one of the things you have to keep in mind, the 8-2 patch. A single misplay like that could really throw the momentum of the game. So it looks like we're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be right back for game number 2. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the UGC League Season 3. I'm your host, 49, the Master Caster who talks a lot faster, and this is Game 2 of the Best of 2 series between Anime Saikou as well as Raven. Absolutely monstrous game coming out from both teams. Good performance in the sense that they've been entertaining. It was a nail-biting finish. We even saw a base race, both Anime Saikou and Raven pulling out all the stops for game number 1. We even saw 2 Divine Ray pairs. Fortunately, that game really illustrates the importance of strategic decisions. When there's something as simple as going for an item such as a butterfly over an MKB can have dire consequences. So Vid's a little bit unfortunate that that slight misplay really did cost and wound up costing his team the game. Anime Saikou, because they had the superior late game lineup, you really can't afford to make a mistake against a team like that. So Anime Saikou this time going for the Doom first ban. Doombringer is a hero that's often banned out in the first banning stage if you intend on picking up a hero such as a Storm Spirit or a Deucer, or even a hero like an Anti-Mage. So if you want to pick up a hero that is very much a 4 Protect 1 playstyle, Doombringer is a hero you usually want to ban out in the first banning stage because he's pretty much hard counters that strategy by disabling the net worth advantage for the duration of that game. That being said, Doombringer, he's usually not considered to be worthy of a tier 1 ban in the current metagame unless you have that strategy in mind, just because Doom no longer disabling passives, as well as the fact that Doombringer is a very greedy offlane hero. He usually takes a lot of speed, a lot of gold as well as experience to really come online. So we're going to be seeing the Juggernaut ban now coming out from Anime Saikou. This is a very trending meta ban. Juggernaut, he's no longer as effective as he used to be now with the 350 range Omni Slash as well as the 2.45 edgy growth per level as opposed to 2.8. So it means that Juggernaut's efficiency overall has been slightly nerfed, so the Omni Slash range nerf is to compensate for the fact that everyone's going for a Mask of Madness. So Juggernaut's still a very powerful hero, because with that healing ward, every time you find a kill, or you find a pick off, you take a tower. And so Juggernaut very similar to the Troll Warlord in that regard. Troll Warlord's been seen as much more of a superior alternative to the Juggernaut, because you've got a much lower cooldown with the Battle Trance, you've got a much more effective laning stage, and Troll scales better than the Juggernaut. Even though Juggernaut has the better crit, since Juggernaut's actually quite fragile, most of your damage is going to be centered around the Omni Slash. Outside of the Omni Slash, it's very easy for people to kite you and to deal with you, especially with a lot of ranged DPS. Over in the lineup of Raven, going to be seeing the Axe ban as well as Viper. Askalicious on the Axe could be the MVP as far as Anime Saikou is concerned. He's pretty much keeping his team in the game by constantly picking off Kumo. Even though Kumo basically had a free lane against Restoration Sniper, it's because Restoration wasn't even present for the first creep wave. He wasn't really able to zone out the Shadow Fiend at all. And he chose to go for the early 11-minute Blink Dagger over from Kumo. Fortunately, Askalicious was able to constantly catch him in the position, especially with the Blink Berserkers called Static Storm. So a lot of kudos goes over to Freyheart as well as Askalicious for turning that game around by constantly picking off Kumo and neutralizing the advantage of the Shadow Fiend. Anime Saikou picking up the Witch Doctor as their first hero. Expecting another 60-minute slugfest coming out from both teams, so I suppose I wouldn't be too disappointed with the game ended quickly. Witch Doctor, very powerful defensive support, scales well into the late game. If he's ever able to find an Agnum Scepter, he basically becomes another core hero. So Witch Doctor is a high priority support in that regard, consistently powerful at every stage of the game, gives you great defensive capability with the Voodoo Restoration. Over in the lineup of Raven, choosing up the Vengeful Spirits. Avenge, very similar to the Witch Doctor, hero that's relevant at every stage of the game. So these are support heroes that are trending at the moment, instead of supports such as the Skywrath Mage, who is primarily centered around the early and mid game. Skywrath gives you great early game engagement by zoning out and setting up kills on the offlaner, by setting up rotational ganks and concussive shot, and by giving you good pick-off potential with the Mystic Flare. But unfortunately, Skywrath does taper off quite quickly, especially once BKB starts to come online. Vengeful Spirit is always useful, just because you've got the swap and the Vengeance Aura. Those two abilities alone make Venge a very powerful hero. Also can be considered to be an unconventional counter to Tinker. You throw the Wave of Terror into the tree line, swap him out, Tinker's now dead. If you kill Tinker, it puts their team at a massive disadvantage. Raven decided to go all in with the Storm Spirit pick up this early on. Storm Spirit is a hero that really is heavily dependent on not being countered. If you don't have a response for Storm, he will single-handedly win you the game, very similar to a Templar Assassin. But unlike the Templar, Storm Spirit has the ability to bounce back if you have a rough start, just because Storm's got such a great amount of DPS potential. He actually does more consistent DPS than the Templar Assassin if you go for the max Overload build. Anime Saikou choosing to pick up the Queen of Pain. Quap's one of the best heroes to deal Storm Spirit in the laning stage, because Storm Spirit's range is low enough that every time he runs in to try to right click against you, you Shadow Strike him. You start poking and prodding him once you get access to the Sonic Wave, especially since you should have enough of a base damage advantage at level 1 to try zone out Storm Spirit and make sure that you're getting ahead as far as last and deny is concerned. If you pick up 6 before Storm Spirit is dead. You should just have a very easy kill against him. In this scenario, Queen of Pain players often even choose to go for a second point in the Shadow Strike, just to make sure that you're able to apply a lot more harassment pressure over the Storm. That being said, Storm still can break even against this matchup, and Storm can potentially turn things around. So Storm Spirit basically has 2 core builds. You've got the old school 3 points in Vortex, and then you max out the Overload. And so the 3 points in Vortex is a setup for the Remnant, so it gives you just enough time that if you Vortex someone, hit them and drop a Remnant, as they get pulled back and as the Vortex ends, the Remnant pops, so it adds 140 damage to your burst combination on top of the Overload procs.
Otherwise, you'd just be better off sticking to go for no points of Vortex or 1 point of Vortex at level 8, so that's the Sumail style build, where you choose to max out the Overload. The drawback of that build is you have to be very precise with your ball lightnings, you have to zip behind them. Because that means if you zip in front of them, they stun you and they laugh at your face. And you waste a lot of mana and look very silly. If you're able to constantly zip behind them and anticipate their movements, then you do a ridiculous amount of damage. It helps you farm faster. The reason why that build's preferred by players such as E.G. Sumail, he's the one that really made it popular, is the fact that it gives you a much more powerful laning stage, with that 90 damage being given by Overload. It means that even though Queen of Pain's great at dominating a 1v1 matchup, she has to give respect to the Storm Spirit. Every time you pop a Remnant, smack Queen of Pain in the face with the Overload, Queen of Pain eats a hell of a lot of damage. It puts you in a good enough position that a co-op decides to commit, especially if you've broken even as far as experience is concerned, you can actually turn things around. And so of course the drawback of that build in this scenario is Queen of Pain. She's got enough burst damage that you need a way to lock her down, especially if you decide to get up in your face. And Queen of Pain, a hero that's really good at getting up in your face with the Shadow Strike and poking and prodding. So in that scenario, if you choose to go for the 3 points in Vortex, if Queen of Pain overcommits, especially with the creep wave also hitting her, you could actually turn that engagement around and deal enough damage to co-op to either kill her or force her out of the lane. Anime Saikou now choosing to ban out the Storm Spirit. Storm actually can be considered to be an effective counter to Storm, at least until Storm Spirit picks up something like an Orchid, just because Skywrath has a 0-second cast point on the Ancient Seal, whereas as Storm Spirit, when he's zipping in, if he doesn't immediately Vortex or Orchid you, Skywrath can actually turn things around. It means Storm is actually forced to catch Skywrath every single time. So it's quite an effective way to deal with Storm Spirit. Lion's also a great counter as far as support is concerned to the Storm, because Storm Spirit is so dependent on maneuvering around enemy cast points and turn rates. And Lion with a 0-second cast point in the Hex, that 500 range of Storm Spirit's in front of him, he's going to turn to a frog, he's actually turning engagement around off the back of that. So Storm Spirit going to be a high impact threat as far as Raven is concerned. It all really boils down to how much pressure Anime Saikou are able to apply to the Storm Spirit at the early stage of the game, as well as how effective their last 3 picks are. The best way to deal Storm is to draft heroes that are able to mitigate Storm Spirit's advantage. So heroes that can silence Storm, heroes that can dominate Storm Spirit in the laning stage. So that justifies the Viper ban coming through from Raven. X as well can be considered a very effective hero to deal Storm if you get a very early blink. That's because you can potentially catch Storm with the counter initiation Berserker's Call and Culling Blade him down. Now going to be seeing a Deuce and a Slug ban coming up from Raven, while Anime Saikou choosing to ban out the Tide Hunter. So once again, Tide's a hero they really don't like playing against. This is going to give you that teamfight impetus. Skywrath Mage also a great counter to the Queen of Pain, so I can understand why Anime Saikou aren't too keen on the SM being picked up by Raven. Skywrath also works nicely with the Venge in the sense that you can cast a shot to buy Vengeful Spirit enough time to run up a magic missile somebody. Otherwise, Venge can't really initiate unless you're able to smoke rotate behind them, so they don't have time to respond, or if you start with boots very early on, just because Venge has such a low movement speed with 295, and Magic Missile's got a 500 range cast point, compared to Skywrath Mage with 1600 range concussive shot.
Reserve time.
Going to be seeing Raven now dipping into almost all their reserve time to choose to go for a Silencer pick. This is actually more of a block pick than anything else, since Silencer is one of the better counters to deal Storm Spirit, and Silencer doesn't even have to be anywhere near the Storm to be able to hard counter him. Silencer also does quite nicely with the Witch Doctor and the Queen of Pain, so this is actually a very effective pickup coming out from Raven, because not only does it prevent them from picking up a hard counter to your Storm Spirit, it also gives you quite a dramatic advantage by shutting down their first 2 heroes. Witch Doctor, as every time Witch Doctor throws out the Death Ward, Silencer presses R. Same thing with Queen of Pain. If she blinks on and tries to set up for a Sonic Wave, if you're quick enough with your reflexes, you can actually Global Silence her and prevent her. Most likely she will get that Sonic Wave off, but if you still throw out that Global Silence, it means she doesn't have any follow through. It means she's now caught in a very sticky situation. Bristleback pickup coming out from Anime Saikou. A little bit surprised since Bristleback, he's actually very dependent on casting spells, so Silencer does deal quite nicely with the Bristleback, just with the Global Silence as well as the Last Word. Bristleback can always purge off the Curse of Silence and the Last Word because he's constantly got local run abilities he can spam out, but if he's caught with the Silence, Bristleback is heavily dependent on spamming out the Viscous Nasal Goo to stick to people, and the Cool Spray to give himself Warpath stacks. While Cool Spray does do damage, Nasal Goo is how you actually kill people, because otherwise Bristleback, he's very easy to kite, he's very easy to ignore. If you ignore the Bristleback and kill the rest of his team and he's going 1v5, past around the 20 to 25 minute mark, Bristleback loses a lot of his momentum. So he's a hero that peaks in the first 20 to 25 minutes. Past that point, he no longer becomes a threat unless he's incredibly farmed. Anime Saikou picking up the advantage immediately after Raven decided to commit with the Terrorblade, so by sending the Storm Spirit mid, Silencer most likely will be a support alongside the Venge, so 4 position Silencer, 5 positions Venge, so Silencer is basically going to be an ult bot to assist the Terrorblade. Raven have put himself in a very advantageous position as far as the draft's concerned, especially since they've banned out heroes that can take the game late, so Deuce is an excellent hard counter to Terrorblade, because she actually is able to just man fight against Terrorblade, and Terrorblade, if he can't win a man fight, he actually tapers off very quickly, since he doesn't have a lot of burst DPS potential. He's dependent on going blow for blow and winning in a prolonged war of attrition, especially since you have Sunder and you usually build very stat-heavy items. Another reason why you see the Slark and Terrorblade bans. Raven, their last 3 bans are prioritized towards Terrorblade, Axe and Viper to an extent also deal with Terrorblade quite nicely, since Axe gives you great pick-off power and a way to control Terrorblade. Through the Blink Berserker's call into Cutting Blade, and Viper's able to exert a lot of pressure to your towers early on. So Raven, as far as the draft is concerned, they've actually put themselves in a very advantageous position. They've actually quite clearly outdrafted Anime Saikou. Abaddon doesn't really do anything against the Storm or the Terrorblade, so Abaddon can maybe do a little bit of cutesy harassment damage. I suppose you could go for the dual lane and the Bristleback Abaddon, which is very difficult to dislodge. So that could be the approach that Anime Saikou are looking to take to try to shut down Terrorblade. But Terrorblade, worst case scenario, he just hangs back, plays passive, rotates in the jungle. Terrorblade farms the jungle as efficiently as it farms the lane, so the reason why Terrorblade is such a powerful one-position carry is just with a Ring of Aquila, Boots of Speed, and the Yasha, he's going to farm at the same speed as an Anti-Mage with Battle Fury. So he doesn't need anywhere near the gold investment that an Anti-Mage does, but he's still able to farm at roughly the same speed. Terrorblade also scales a lot better than the Anti-Mage, and gives you a lot more kill power early on through the Metamorph, especially since you have that constant threat of Terrorblade Split Push coming through from the Conjure Illusion. So Raven to put themselves in a very good position. Anime Saikou now choosing the ban on Centaur Warrior. The Centaur wouldn't have actually been too effective as far as an offlane is concerned for Raven, just because the Centaur is going to get very easily bullied as far as Anime Saikou support is concerned. Both Witch Doctor as well as the Abaddon are great ways to deal with the Centaurs. It's Abaddon, he doesn't really have to worry about getting bursted down with a double-edged Hoof Stomp, especially since if you happen to double Hoof Stomp the Witch Doctor, he could just shield them and turn things around. So Weaver going to be the offlaner coming out from Raven. Weaver, I suppose, can be punished quite easily just by purchasing a Sentry Ward. So Weaver, very risky offlane hero. Weaver's pretty much only used as an offlaner if you could guarantee a 1v1 offlane. So if you go for an aggro tri-lane, or if you think they're going to go for an aggro tri-lane, then Weaver makes a lot of sense, because he actually wins quite a few 1v1 matchups, such as, for instance, against a Batrider. So in that scenario, Weaver actually chooses to max Gemini attack, so every time Batrider runs in to go for a sticky napalm and be cute, you just smack him a couple of times, and Batrider eventually becomes so low, he can't actually commit for a kill without killing himself. Spectre's going to be the last pick, coming out from the boys in Anime Saikou. Unfortunately, Spectre doesn't really deal well with the Terrorblade. The best carry that can deal with the Terrorblade is one that's able to burst him down or outlast the Terrorblade, and Spectre doesn't do either. Since Terrorblade can just sunder the Spectre or even sunder an illusion to give himself enough HP to beat her down, Terrorblade's going to farm faster than the Spectre, and he has a much more powerful laning stage than the Spectre, since you've got the Metamorph and possibly Conjure Illusion, although most Terrorblade players choose to completely forego Conjure Image and just go for the, I suppose, the Reflection, sorry, not the Conjure Image, and choose to max out the Conjure Image as well as the Metamorph as quickly as possible. It's going to introduce the players over on both teams in the lineup of Anime Saikou. Restoration, the mid player from the last game, now going to be playing the 1-position Spectre. Freyhite, going to be playing the 4-position Abaddon. Abaddon will actually, I suppose he could actually be the 5 since Barker. And the carry player from the last game going to be playing the 4-position Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor will actually be the 4 in this case. He scales better than the Abaddon. You want the Aghanim Scepter on him as quickly as possible. Sentry is immediately purchased. Excellent recognition coming out from Anime Saikou. Escalicious, once again, going to be the offlaner as the Bristleback. As far as the mid lane is concerned, looks like we're going to be seeing a stand-in coming out from them. Shinkudo, so he's going to be replacing, not too sure who's replacing this time, he's going to be the mid lane Queen of Pain. Actually has a safety ward already picked up by him. So he's going to be replacing, not Barker, who is he replacing? Freyhard, Barker, it'll come to me later on. So over in the lineup of Raven, Kumo, going to be playing the mid lane Storm Spirit, choosing to go for the fairly standard Remnant at 1. So it could indicate either build, so he does have that flexibility. Remnant at 1 picked up to ensure you're able to find enough lasters to get your bottle. Every time a creep drops below about 200 HP, drop your Remnant. By the time the Remnant pops, it'll be below 140. And so it ensures you're getting that last hit. Medan Kira is going to be another interesting player on the lineup of Raven, so he wasn't in the last game. He's going to be playing the offlane Weaver. He's going to be having a very difficult time, especially since he doesn't have a Sentry of his own to D-ward. And Weaver at level 1, the Sakuchi believes it's a 13-second cooldown, 12-second cooldown. So every time it's off cooldown, it's on cooldown, you're actually dead in the water, especially if they've got heroes that can aggressively poke and prod. Jinko going to be caught with, is actually able to find himself the bounty runners. Medan Kura is able to find it instead. Looks like Vidas also finds it, so he's going to be playing the 1-position Terrorblade once again. Choosing to go for the Stout Shield and the Quelling Blade. Terrorblade's a hero that you can actually afford to completely forego the Stout Shield, just because you have such high base armor and high base HP regen compared to other heroes. Migu, he's going to be playing the 5-position Vengeful Spirit. Yukarin, the offlane player from the last game, now he's going to be playing 4 as the Silencer. So his sole job is to be an ult bot this game. Fairly standard Observer Ward placement coming through from Anime Saikou, so we are going to be seeing the dual lane, the Abaddon as well as the Bristleback. The nice thing about this is you can't actually deal with this. They just get up in your face. They're tanky enough that you have to ignore them, pretty much have to disengage every time they choose to commit. Because if you try to go blow for blow, they're going to come out on top. Abaddon actually plays as a ranged hero in this case. You don't actually want to be too close to them in case if they have an AoE stun. So Freyhard should usually be hanging back to make sure that Escalicious is always going to be the first target they jump on. That way you could shield Escalicious and Escalicious stands his ground. Yukarin, being a little bit cute, actually chose to go for the last word at 1. Going for Curseless Sign actually would have been better in this scenario just to deal with Freyhard. If you can burn Freyhard's mana so he doesn't have enough to be able to throw out the Mist Coil as well as the Aphotic Shield, you've automatically won the lane. So Yukurin goes in for a last word against Askalicious to prevent him from keep chasing, as he's now going to be caught with the disarm. Looks like he just waits, throws out the cool spray in the end. So Yukurin, actually a slight misplay coming up from him. You actually want Coastal Silence to control Abandon's Mana Pool. That's the only way you can win this matchup. Control Abandon's Mana Pool and you pretty much control the Bristleback, because Bristleback can't go ham on his own. He needs the Abandon to back him up. Although that being said, Vid's going to be having a bit of a difficult start. He even chose to go for Metamorphosis at 1, indicating that he knew that he'd be in a very defense position. So Metamorphosis Mon is if you think you're going to be on the back foot and you don't think it's a kill with the Reflection. So that means that if it's an absolute worst case scenario and you're not finding any farm, you pop Metamorph at level 1, use the range form to find a few last hits, and you just bide your time. Once you get at level 5 and you've got 3 points in the Conjure Image, especially with the Quelling Blade, you can actually just look to rotate into the jungle, just abandon the lane if things go completely south. The nice thing about Terrorblade in that case is Terrorblade can rotate into jungle and freeze up the lane for Yukurin to find farm, because you want to make sure that Silencer is able to find a timely level 6, as well as something like an Aghanim Scepter at one point, just because Silencer otherwise is going to become complete food as far as Shinkudo is concerned. Speaking of which, Shinkudo, just doing a huge amount of damage. Might actually be able to find a kill against Kumo, as Kumo going to be standing his ground against him. We are going to be seeing a Simel build from him. It does make sense if you're going to be over on the Radiant side, because you've got easy access to the medium camp. He's going to be fine. It's every 3 seconds that it ticks. Actually chose to go halfway and go for a point in the Vortex, play over the top lane. Weaver's actually able to find first blood. He actually went into the mid lane, never mind. So just as I looked away, he rotated, was able to find that kill. And Meta and Kyrus, he's a hero that Weaver's a hero that I said would be having an awful time in the top lane, especially with double sentries being placed. Unfortunately, the sentries slightly overlap. Would like to see the sentry placed slightly further around there, so that way you don't have that overlap. That being said, because he's able to find himself that first blood, Weaver might even choose to go for a bottle, just to make sure that you've constantly got enough mana regen. That being said, with that first blood kill, you can actually choose to commit for a very early Perseverance. Restoration, this is the weakness of Spectre. You've got a god-awful laning stage, because you don't actually have a way to set up a kill, unless you go for a max Desolate build and you play very aggressively, but against the high mobility of Weaver, very unlikely going to be getting more than 1 or 2 right clicks in. Kumo, looks like we do see the double Shadow Strike build coming through from Shinkudo, so it does give you a much superior laning stage of dealing with a fairly low-range heroes such as the Storm Tricks. You can reliably tag him with that Shadow Strike, especially helps set up kills just by poking and prodding him down with right clicks, since he can't stand his ground without a lot of points in the Vortex. So Storm did choose to go for the 1 point in Vortex. I suppose I can understand this just as a backup, in case he needs to play quite conservatively speaking, which he could be taking death there. It's going to be forced to use the Vortex, keep himself alive for as long as possible. Shinkudo should have found himself that kill. Actually, never mind. He ate that Remnant like it was candy. So they trade life for life, that Vortex actually saving his bacon, so good recognition from him. And Migu rotating a little bit too late. Now I'm going to say, okay, cool, free lane, I'll find myself some experience. Vid's over in the bottom lane, did choose to pick up a stick as early as possible. Like the recognition from him. Freyheart, he's now out of mana. Freyheart's not going to be completely useless until he gets mana to Aphotic Shield. Vid's can actually look to play a little bit more aggressively once supports rotate. Tries to have a kill. That being said, Askalicious also running low on mana, so you always want to keep in mind the mana count on both Bristleback and the Abaddon. Once Abaddon's out of mana, Bristleback's no longer a threat, because you can just run away from it. And once Bristleback and Abaddon are both out of mana, they're both completely useless. You just beat them down. You've got 2 melee creeps, basically. And they're not really impeding Vid's farm too much. All things considered, they actually should have tried to set up a few kills there, so he went for a point in the Bristleback passive. Not too sure I agree with this. You really need the Viscous Nasal, because the whole point of this dual lane is to try shut down Vid's farm, try to set up kills against either him or their supports. Because Freyheart, he's wasted all his mana, now he's actually going to be forced out of the lane. Hasn't actually accomplished anything. Like Askalicious finds himself a kill against 1, is actually now out of mana. Vid's might look to maybe rotate and try to turn things around, but Askalicious can just stand his ground. So Freyheart, he's loaded up, but he's at least able to accomplish a kill. Kumo, looks like he's now actually doubling back. So he went for a hybrid build, 2 points in Overload to give yourself an easier laning stage, and then 3 points in the Vortex. The 3rd point in Vortex will come at level 7. I like the decision from Kumo. This is much more of a man-fighting build, because you know Queen of Pain will get up in your face. So you need the 3 points of Vortex as quickly as possible, because it means that if Shinkudo jumps Kumo actually has the upper advantage, especially since he's now got the EXP lead. So Shinkudo's actually going to force to play quite conservatively. Kumo can actually just choose to jump on Shinkudo, at least force him to blink. Otherwise, deliver kills. The Queen of Pain, misplaying a bit and taking 2 deaths in quick succession. Queen of Pain was picked up purely to shut down Kumo in the mid lane. So Shinkudo's unfortunately failed in all regards. Restoration, getting a little bit of harassment damage from Menenkaris. Menenkaris actually looks to go for a kill. He's got time lapse, he doesn't give a damn. He's got to stand his ground, try to bring down Baka, and then time lapse himself out. Never mind, wasn't able to do so. With the restoration going to be too OP, and Menenkaris, now he's overcommitted, going to be taking death himself. Would have actually liked to see a magic stick there. Magic stick to drastically increase his chances of survival. Weaver, you should almost always pick up a magic stick as quickly as possible. Now see a zip coming through from Kumo. He's used all his mana though, he's not going to find that kill unless he bottle charges. And even then, might not be able to do so. So he's going to be wasting all his mana. Even if he does find that kill, he's given the free lane up to Queen of Pain. So this is actually Storm Spirit 101. You never want to make sure that you waste all your mana. You have to be as efficient as possible with your mana pool. Kumo, because he wasted all his mana, was able to find that kill. He's actually given the free lane to Shinkudo, so he's actually lost a lot of momentum. Because Min and Kira is able to quickly rotate, they're able to partially recover ground, but otherwise it's a massive mistake coming out from Kumo. You want to make sure that when you decide to commit for a kill, you still have some mana left. You don't want to just YOLO in like that and waste all of your mana, because you don't have any follow through. If Migu wasn't there, could have actually turned things around. Or had other supports TP'd such as Freeheart, would have ensured that Soldier could have actually taken the death, because now you've completely crippled yourself. If you do want to zip in like that and use all your mana, make sure you at least have a Soul Ring or Stick. So a Stick is usually going to be overkill, especially since you usually go for the Soul Ring. Vid's going to be eating all my harassment damage. He's actually got back up to full HP with all those stick charges though. So Freeheart, going to be zoned back, actually choosing to prioritize Mistcoil opposed to the Aphotic Shield. Mistcoil is a lot more mana efficient, so I can understand the thought process behind that. But that being said, the Aphotic Shield cooldown reduction is going to be very valuable when it comes to these early engagements. Askalicious, finding himself that 1 kill, has actually drastically impeded Vid's farm. Although I suppose it's not as much as you'd think. Vid still is able to find some recovery. Looks like he's choosing to go, potentially could be a hand of Midas. Midas on Terrorblade is usually considered to be ultra greedy. You usually just want to go for Ring of Aquila as quickly as possible into the Yasha, because these are items that also propagate over to your illusions. They help your illusions farm faster, especially with the Cunning Blade. Whereas the hand of Midas doesn't really do an awful lot for your illusions. You don't necessarily need it just because you can flash farm the jungle so efficiently. I suppose if you're able to find it uncontested around the 8-minute mark, say you find First Blood at the 7 to 8 minute mark with a kill, then maybe you could go for a Midas, but even then, Terrorblade, because you've got such great farming mechanisms, you don't really need another way to find farm. You want to go for items that give you immediate benefit, so that way if you are forced to fight, or if you need a split push, you actually have some kind of, you're able to provide some benefit to your team. Dire side able to place another safety wall. It's going to be put in vision of Migo, so Migo should know that something's not quite right. Ukraine, also waiting around in the wings. Actually, has completed the magic stick, magic wand, but doesn't have boots. You want to go for boots before you complete the magic wand. Magic wand is not going to be that valuable, even though you're against a bristleback. The stick's usually going to be enough. If you've got 17 charges, something's gone horribly wrong, especially since you don't have the boots mobility to keep yourself safe once the warpath comes online. Shinkudo looks like he actually committed the Sonic Wave, not able to find a kill against Kumo, and Kumo is dominating this 1v1 matchup now. 44 last hits compared to the 26 over in Shinkudo. And this is the Queen of Pain who's designed to win this matchup, at least in the early stages of the game, until the ball lightning comes online. So Shinkudo, because of that misplay, especially since Miran Kires is able to find himself that cheeky First Blood, could be taking a death if he's not too careful. He's got time lapse, he should be okay. He's also got, he actually stands his ground for now. Kumo comes in, this time holding on to his mana. And there we go, now he can actually find himself 2 kills in his restoration. He's got enough mana he can potentially look to zip in, also could look to zip out defensively. Not too sure why he zipped that way, I suppose it could have been a bit of a panic. Shinkudo rotates in, fortunately unable to set anything up. And Kumo, that's good recognition coming up from him. Now he has the Soul Ring. He can afford to be a bit more reckless with the mana pool, so he could be assigned to go straight into the Orphan 11s or go straight into the Bloodstone Escalations. It almost cost him his life though. Did choose to go for the Treads. So Treads early on to give himself a bit more DPS potential. Over on the Terrorblade, usually see the Ring of Aquila before Treads. Treads is picked up after the Yasha, usually since the Yasha helps you farm a lot more efficiently. But I suppose the Treads, it does give you that potential increased HP pool if you need to go for it. As far as the mid lane's concerned, Kumo will be interesting to see if he does decide to go straight. Actually, I went for 4 points of Vortex. This is a massive mistake. The 4th point of Vortex, you never really want to skill until you've maxed out your other abilities. You need 3 points to trigger the Remnant. After that, the 4th point is going to be absolute gravy. You want to go for the maxed out Vortex, the Overload in that case, because that's how you actually kill people. Overload's going to be your damage. Vortex just sets up for the Remnant. So a slight inefficiency coming through from Kumo. It seems like a very minor difference, but as we saw in the last game, these minor differences can snowball out of control, because now you're drastically cutting out a lot of DPS potential from your Overload. Since Storm Spirit, your early ganks are determined by your Overload efficiency, so every time you zip in for a kill, you want to get off as many Overload procs as possible, since the Overload's actually doing the vast majority of your damage. Because you don't have that 3rd point and the Overload, you're running on 2 points, you're basically cutting out 20 additional damage with every single action you take. So it actually can stack up quite quickly, whereas the additional 0.5 seconds in the Vortex, not really going to be that valuable. Askalicious picked up a cheeky bracelet just to keep himself alive, especially since Vince is constantly playing aggressively against him. Vince is actually starting to lead as far as lots is concerned compared to Askalicious. So this dual lane falling apart, it seems. And Anime Saikou, this time the onus is on them to try and close up the game as quickly as possible. Shinkudo's going to be taking death if he's not too careful. Caught the silence. Where's the Aphotic Shield coming through? There we go. Aphotic Shield comes out in time. Shinkudo might actually be able to stand his ground for now. He's going to blink himself out. Yukirin going to be beaten down by the Cool Spray procs coming through from Askalicious. They might be able to bring down Vids as well. Vids doesn't have access to the Sun, thereby he just barely does. Has to turn around for that Sun. He gets it off in time. Still going to be taking death though if he's not too careful. Bristleback Cool Spray procs coming through from him. Askalicious finds himself another one. Should be able to find himself 3 against Migo as well. Especially Shinkudo there. Migo should be taking a dash. Shinkudo should be able to run him down, Migo. And keep himself alive for now, but you've got the blink coming online for Queen of Pain a little bit longer. One more right click. There we go, they're able to find it. Migu making it work for it. Shinkudo actually takes a fair amount of harassment damage. They were able to find that kill with actually the pause coming through from Barker. So looks like we've got a little bit of pause issues coming, a little bit of internet issues coming through from them. Barker choosing to actually max out the Voodoo Restoration, so he's going for the fairly standard competitive Witch Doctor build. It gives you the most defensive capability. Valediction is an ability you either max or you completely ignore. Since Malediction, especially with the Spectre, doesn't make any sense. This is actually a very old school Dota 1 style lane. Witch Doctor and the Spectre used to be the Warlock and the Spectre, so you just Shadow Word Spectre and Spectre goes ham, plays very aggressively. You can't zone out Spectre because she has such high survivability from the Shadow Word coming out from Warlock, and you can potentially set up kills from the aggressive capability coming through from Fatal Bond or the Upheaval. Witch Doctor and the Spectre, very similar design philosophy. You've got the Voodoo Restoration to keep Spectre topped up so she can play quite aggressively. Also means you can turn around ganks or engagements coming through from Mirror and Kiros, unless support comes in from Kumo. Suppose I could actually skip through this pause. There we go. So it looks like we're back in the game. Kumo, he can decide to go straight into the Bloodstone if he wants to go for much more of a late game farmer oriented route. Because he's choosing the max out Overlord is going to indicate he should be going towards the Orchid. Since Orchid's a timing based ganking item, the reason why I say timing is if you're playing, for instance, an anti-mage, you want to get the Orchid as quickly as possible because you know anti-mage will eventually pick up a Manta Cell, and once he gets that Manta, Orchid just becomes a giant waste of gold as far as ganking the anti-mage is concerned, because you can just Manta out of the Orchid silence. It also does help you find early pickups against support. So Barker could actually be taking death. Kumo, if he wanted to jump in, he could have actually chosen to zip in for an engagement there. Decided not to use his mana, I guess he wanted to play it safe. Now he's got that 3rd point Overload. So had he chosen not to go for that 4th point of Vortex, would have had maxed out Overload, could have actually potentially set up a kill there. Askalicious and Freyhide. Freyhide's going to be eating a fair amount of damage from that curse, more importantly the mana loss. Migru going to be taking a death there. Shinkudo actually doesn't have enough DPS to follow through, and Migru able to keep himself out. Migru, good recognition and good presence of mind over in the top lane, Restoration. Choosing to go for the Vanguard build over in the Spectre. Not a big fan of the Vanguard build over in Spectre nowadays. The new school build tends to be the phase into the Owner Shadows, especially if you're going to go for the Max Desolate build. He's actually gone for a much more active build than Max Spectral Dagger. Max Spectral Dagger over in Max Desolate, not too sure I agree. Max Desolate gives you more consistent DPS. Max Dagger is more to help you KS when you're reality into a fight through Haunt. I suppose it does give you a bit more chase potential, but usually the Desolate, because it propagates the illusions, gives you a lot more team fight. Meta and Kiraz. Looks like he could be seeing a Yasha pick up over Weaver. Weaver's actually a very inefficient Yasha carry. You don't need the movement speed since you have Sakuchi. You don't need the attack speed because you have Geminate. You don't even upgrade it very well because you don't want the Mana Style or the SNY. Restoration going to be taking a death there, Kumo. Should be the zip on top of him to ensure that kill. There we go, zipping behind him. Global Suns come through to disable the Death Ward. Barker's now going to be taking another death. Magic Missile comes through. Kumo, there we go. Good recognition coming up from him. Shinkudo might be to turn things around though. Does have the Sonic Wave, turns around. Kumo's keeping it alive for now. Shinkudo unfortunately almost under mana. And Kumo might actually be able to turn this engagement around. Just barely take a death from Freyhide. Good recognition, choosing to zip behind them. Freyhide finds himself a double kill from the Apollo Shield. Shinkudo just dies to the Magic Missile. Also open the bottom lane. Askalicious could be taking a death. Vids unfortunately doesn't have the reflection, so Askalicious should be able to back himself away in time. It's going to be a very valuable kill being picked up over in the top lane. As far as the boys from Raven are concerned, shutting down Restoration, they haven't done anything to shut down Vids. Vids, aside from that one death, still going to be on top of his game. Vanguard's now going to be coming through from Spectre. Vanguard's an item you want to complete the first 8 minutes if you decide to rush it. Otherwise it becomes very ineffective very quickly. Especially if you decide to go for a Vanguard build, you really do want to be maxing out the Desolate, since that way you actually have a lot of DPS potential. Spectre with just a Vanguard actually doesn't do anything, so that's one of the biggest weaknesses of the hero. She takes a lot of gold investment before she starts to hit her stride. Whereas Vids, as a Terrible, you've got so much free DPS built in from Minimal, as well as the free flashback mechanic from the Conjure Image, gonna be a lot more consistent. Astrolicious duking against Vids, Vids actually has to back away now. You don't want to stick around for too long, especially since Astrolicious actually has access to the Warpath. Barker, Death Ward unfortunately immediately